Curtain Up presents the stars in their choices. Boris Karloff in Hanging Judge, a play by Raymond Massey based on a novel by Bruce Hamilton. Hanging Judge.
Members of the jury, are you agreed upon your verdict?
We are.
Do you find the prisoner, Harry Gosling, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty. But we ask that the prisoner should be recommended to mercy on the ground that the murder was not premeditated.
Harry Gosling, you stand convicted of murder. Have you anything to say why a sentence of death should not be pronounced upon you according to law?
I'm not guilty. Not guilty.
Harry Gosling, you have been convicted of a foul and brutal murder. The defense which you concocted has been demonstrated to the satisfaction of the jury to be untrue. You must now prepare yourself to undergo the penalty which the law enacts for such a crime as you have committed. The recommendation which the jury have added to their verdict will be forwarded to the proper quarters where it will receive due consideration. My duty is now to pass upon you the sentence of the law. That sentence is that you be taken hence to a lawful prison and thence to a place of execution.
Why the hell don't the governor come? He said 8 o'clock.
He'll come. Take it easy, Harry.
Here he is now.
The governor.
Okay.
Well, Gosling, I brought Mr. Nottingham along. He's come straight from the Home Secretary. I'm sorry, old man.
You mean there's no reprieve, sir?
I'm afraid not. Now, you remember I warned you not to be too hopeful.
Yes, but I couldn't carry it that far. You're pulling my leg, aren't you, Mr. Nottingham?
I wish from my heart I was. But I'm afraid I can't hold out any hope now, Harry. You've got to try to be brave.
It ain't fair. I'm innocent. I never killed her. You know I told the truth, sir. And so did that swine of a judge, shaking himself on the bench. He knew I wasn't guilty. He told him to say I was, just for the kick of it. He's the real murderer, curse him. Oh, God. I hope somebody makes him pay for this, the cold devil. I hope he pays.
Mr. Justice Britton.
Sir Francis Britton is not at home.
Will he be in later this evening?
I'm afraid he's out, sir. And tomorrow he's going away. If you want to see him, you will have to wait till after the vacation, the second week in January.
Well, my business won't wait. I must see him tonight. Where can I find him?
I'm afraid I'm not at liberty to tell you that.
I think you'd better. On his account more than on my own.
I tell you I'm not at liberty. Anyway, he's at his club and you wouldn't be able to see him there.
The Adept. Thank you.
How did you know that? Well, anyway, he won't see you.
He'll see me, all right. Oh, yes. He'll see me.
Good evening, Judge.
Good evening, Lamprey.
What a day it's been. I took a bit of a breather and I went down to Sandwich and played in a monthly medal at St. George's.
How did you do?
I won it, by Jove, with a rollicking 78 and a gale of wind. Anything in the papers, Sir Francis? Oh, good Lord, they've hanged that poor fellow Gosling. I thought he'd get a reprieve. Oh, I say, I'm sorry.
It's quite all right, Lamprey.
Good evening, Lamprey.
Hello, Sidney.
Good evening, Judge.
Evening, Sidney.
Buy me a drink, Lamprey. That ruddy market took another turn today.
How's your Midland steel?
Oh, we're still alive. No thanks to you lawyers.
Here's Robert. What do you have, Sidney? You've got to help me to celebrate. I'm going to buy you a good dinner, too, you old pauper.
What? Oh, very well. I'll have my usual, then. A large martini, Roberts. No vegetables in it.
No, Sir George.
Judge?
No, thank you, Lamprey.
Whiskey and soda, Robert.
Very good, sir.
What are you celebrating, Lamprey? A hanging?
Sydney.
This club is composed of all the murdering professions. Lawyers, doctors, and actors. The latter are the most ingenious. They do it by boredom.
And how do you industrialists accomplish a lethal project?
Suicide, I should think. What the hell are you so pleased about, Lamprey?
I won the monthly medal at St. George's with a 78. Blowing like sin, too.
What did you do at the Maiden?
Well, I got my 4. But I had to get out of that horror with a sand blaster.
A sand blaster is an illegal club that should not be used in tournament play. The rules of the Royal and Ancient are quite explicit on that point.
Really, Judge?
Roberts.
Sir?
I shall be dining later.
Well, I'm damned. Oh, it's impossible. What does that desiccated, pompous old bore know about golf?
As a matter of fact, he's pretty good.
I'd like to take a sandblaster to him.
A large martini and a whiskey, sir.
Stout fellow, Roberts. Cheers, Lamprey.
Yes.
I say, old Britain doesn't mind advertising himself. He's left this paper open at a report of his oration at the carpenter's dinner last night. Just take a look.
Evening.
Evening. I say, I know you. It's Colonel Archer. I met you when we were handling that smuggling case in Hong Kong 4 years ago.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes. You're,
I'm George Sidney. Jolly good to see you, old chap. This is Miles Lamprey. A thieving lawyer, I'm afraid.
How do you do?
Archer's Commissioner of Police in Hong Kong, Lamprey.
Well, I was. I retired last year. No, I'm jolly glad to see you, Sidney. I've been wandering round looking for a face I knew. Our club, the Greville's, been housed by you for summer cleaning.
You came in without a guide. Stout fella. Have a drink. Lamprey here will buy it. He's just hung a chap.
Not me. I had nothing to do with it.
And won some perishing medal. And he's filthy rich.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you very much. I have to dine in Belgrave Square in 20 minutes,
but... Come along, Lamprey. Can't all those fat briefs buy a few drinks? Roberts, another double martini. Archer, my boy, you should avail yourself of one of Lamprey's rare moments of hospitality.
Well, whiskey and soda, thank you.
Same for me, Roberts, please.
Yes, sir. You don't know when Sir Francis will be returning, do you, sir?
No. Why?
Only that a person has called and wishes to see him, sir. 2 whiskies and a martini.
You can have the old goat as far as I'm concerned.
Who are you talking about?
Sir Francis Britton, the High Court judge. He tried the Midland Steel case.
Yes, damn his eyes.
What did that decision mean for Midland, Sidney?
Well, I wouldn't give Britain the satisfaction of thinking that he had hit us very hard. He hasn't as yet. But it could set the development of the steel industry of this country back 20 years. And I'll never forgive him for that. For I firmly believe that it was a venomous decision. We'll win our appeal. Oh, damn it, don't make me talk about that. Oh, that's jolly quick, Roberts.
Hayden had anticipated your wishes, Sir George.
Oh, happy for Joe. Oh, cheers, Lamprey, and here's to you, Archer.
Cheers.
How long will you be home?
Well, I'm home for good. I've just been appointed Chief of the Norfolk Constabulary, which is a comfortable progression from the Far East.
Hello, Nottingham.
Oh, how are you, Nottingham?
I'm feeling pretty grim, thank you.
Archer, this must be a unique occasion. A lawyer feels grim.
Oh, damn it, Sidney, don't try to be funny.
Nottingham, I'm your friend. This club is filled with lawyers, as is my less exclusive alternative, the House of Commons. I know too many lawyers. You alone are tolerable. You have a heart, my friend.
Don't listen to him, Nottingham.
Oh, Nottingham, this is my friend, Colonel Archer. This is an amiable and honest barrister, Keith Nottingham.
How do you do?
How do you do?
By Jove, I'm sorry, but I'm already late for dinner. I must dash along. Well, Sidney, look, here's my card. There's excellent golf at Hunstanton near my home. What do you say to a round one day soon?
Oh, fine idea. It's good to have you back home, old chap.
Good night, Sidney. Good night, Nottingham.
Good night.
Good night, Archer.
Good night,
Lamprey, old boy. You know, the sort you die of a surfeit of.
Good night.
That's a splendid chap.
Yes, I agree. Oh, hand me that paper, Sidney. Roberts, whiskey and soda, please.
The same, Robert.
Another large martini, Roberts.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Britain was on his hobby horse again last night, I see. Listen to this. I will say categorically that within the memory of any living man, no person in this country has suffered the extreme penalty of the law without having richly deserved that fate.
Damn his soul. He could say that when young Harry Gosling was a few hours away from the gallows.
Sorry, Nottingham, I know how you feel about this case. For that matter, every case you take on. You make the best fight that could be made for him. You couldn't have done more.
This was the wrong verdict, Lamprey, and I wouldn't say that if I didn't feel it deeply. Britain was trying me, not Gosling. He hates me. I believe any counsel he didn't dislike might have won.
Oh, come, Nottingham, old boy. You're not the only brief snatcher Britain's headed in for. In the Midland Steel case,
Quiet, Sidney. I read old Britain's summing up. They're always pretty clear and defined.
Oh, clear, yes.
It seemed to me that you were batting on a sticky wicket, old chap.
I wasn't. By heaven, if ever there was a reasonable doubt to work for, I had it. Oh, God, I had it. Here's a case of an hysterical girl, baby on the way. She's trying to get him to marry her. He can't. He's no money. She stabs herself. He's watching. He's seen it. He's faced with that awful fact, the dead body. What can he do? He panics. He dumps it in the canal, poor youngster. We all know what panic is, but not Britain. He worked harder on that point than the Crown. He played it as if he were pleading. He allowed the boy's past record to be in on the damnedest technicality. I argued those points with everything I had at the appeal and for 2 hours last night at the Home Office. West was hog-tied by advice from the bench. Britain wanted a conviction, and he got it, and he made it stick.
Lord Nottingham, I know how badly you feel, but you must admit old Britain knows his law, and he's pretty thorough. I believe he lives for the law. There's nothing else he cares about.
Damnation, how can you be a good lawyer without one spark of human kindness? Lamprey, I saw Gosling last night, a few hours away from the rope. You didn't. And I just failed at the Home Office. Well, he's out of it now.
Emotion and the law. A painful combination. Here's to you, Nottingham, old man. You're a stout fellow.
Oh, hell, I'll give you a toast. To confusion on the bench. As if there wasn't plenty of it now.
That was an interesting toast, Sidney. Oh. I assume you drank it alone?
No. I drank to it also, Judge. I was thinking of the late Harry Gosling.
That remark does you no credit, Nottingham, neither as to your manners nor as to your conduct as a barrister. Were it not that this is a gentleman's club, I would report you to the benches of your inn. But I make allowances for what may perhaps be termed excess of zeal. I will be pleased to forget this incident.
Sir Francis, you and I both follow the profession of the law. We have that in common. But we have little else. I do not believe that ours or any criminal law can be an unfailing pilot of justice. Mortal laws are administered by mortal men. Neither is infallible. Till the day I die, I cannot and will not leave my heart in the robing room.
Very aptly phrased, Nottingham. I confess I've never seen you enter a courtroom unequipped with that somewhat unpredictable organ. But I have not at any time claimed that the criminal law is an infallible instrument. But this I will claim, that in this country it approaches as near perfection as is humanly possible, and further, I believe that such perfection increases in direct proportion to the gravity of the issue judged. In cases of less than first importance, there may at times be excessive or even undeserved punishment, but in a capital charge, such a lapse leading to a miscarriage of justice is absolutely impossible.
Oh, I pray to God that never again will I plead a case before you. Excuse me, Sidney.
I know now why that damn statue has a bandage on. Well, I've got to go and make some more laws for you fellows to argue about. Good night, Lamprey. Put your medal under your pillow and make a wish.
Good night, Sidney.
Good night, Judge.
Good night.
Are you dining, Judge?
Yes. We could split a bottle of Montrachet.
Capital.
Excuse me, Sir Francis. There's a man waiting to see you.
Oh. Didn't he give his name?
No, sir.
I'll go in and keep a table.
I'll join you, Lamprey. Well, send him packing, Roberts. I'll not be...
Sir Francis Britton. My name is Teal. T-E-A-L.
Very good, Roberts. I will deal with this man.
Yes, sir.
What does this intrusion mean? I've never seen you before in my life.
No, of course you haven't. I've seen you, though. I saw you yesterday in your court.
Yes. A great many people visit the court, sir. I think I must ask you to go.
Oh, no, Sir Francis, you can't do that to me. I've a lot to say to you. Don't you remember the name of Teal? That's my name. And this ring. Do you remember that?
Your name is Teal?
Yes, it is. Quite a comfortable room, this, isn't it?
This is quite impossible. I must ask you to go.
I understand. Someone may come in. It's not good that I should be seen with you in your club, is it? Much better, I think, if I came to Moxton, Mr. Bainbridge.
What's that? How the devil did you know that?
That's quite a little story. But it would be better to talk to you there rather than here, wouldn't it?
As you seem to know the whereabouts of my house in Norfolk, hang by incognito, heaven knows how. You'd better come there. I suggest Friday, the day after tomorrow, at 9 o'clock in the evening. It will not be to your interest to divulge my private address or my other identity, which I use for reasons of privacy. Now, please be off.
Thank you, Sir Francis. I knew you'd see me, but it was better to come here first, wasn't it? On Friday, then, at 9 o'clock.
Where did you walk to this afternoon, dearie?
Over the marshes to the old mill and back. It's a perfect, lonely walk. Not a soul to be seen.
You just can't abide people, can you, my dear?
Oh, I come to Moxton for peace and quiet, Mary, and I will have what I want.
So you shall, my dear. There's your coffee.
Thank you, Nathan. Mary, has your father made any further objection to your working here?
Oh, he doesn't think much of it, but that doesn't matter. I'm grown up and I like working here. That is when you're here, Dux. Then it's fun. Besides, Dad likes the money I earn. You're quite generous, Mr. Bainbridge.
You've been a good girl and not talked to your father or anyone else about us?
What a worrier. Heavens no, why should I? I don't talk. Not about that sort of thing. That's my business. No, dearie, Dad won't give any trouble. And I'm going to give you a lovely holiday.
Mary. Get yourself a glass for some port.
Thank you, Dux. I don't mind if I do.
The peace of this place. Thank God for it. And for you, my sweet. How nicely you've kept everything. Is that the old silver tankard I got in Sutton Fort?
You said you wanted a shiny prize. I cleaned it up for
you.
you.
It's lovely. It's a good one.
I've had plenty of time to work on it. Oh, it does get lonely here, dearie. Nearly 8 weeks since you were here last.
Oh.
You must have been teaching those boys an awful lot in wherever you live.
Mary.
Oh, I don't mind where you live as long as you come back. More often, though, I should like. What's this, Freddie? A sort of paper.
Leave it alone, Mary. It's a headache powder, and I shall probably want it. I've a migraine coming on, I'm afraid.
I've never seen you take these before. Oh, I'm sorry you've got a headache.
No, you must be going, my dear. It's nearly 9 o'clock.
Why? Have you got to work tonight? You never do down here.
Now, I've told you not to be inquisitive when I asked you to do anything. I want you to go home early tonight because I have to do some work. Now, that's all that I can tell you.
Well, I think you might have finished your rotten old work before you came down to see me. You know what I think? I think you've got a lot of girls to teach, not boys at all. Otherwise, you wouldn't send me away like this.
What a ridiculous little monkey it is. Now, run along.
Freddie, my sweet, I think I could scare that work right away.
Oh, you must go, my love. I'll tell you the truth. It isn't work, not exactly. There's a man coming here tonight, and I must see him alone. It's a confidential matter. Just a poor fellow who's out of work, and I want to help him. But tomorrow, everything will be all right, and our holiday will begin then. Now, won't you be a good girl and understand?
Well, there's a new one. Nobody ever comes here. I don't think some poor tramp who's out of work should come before me.
Well, I couldn't arrange it any other way. Oh, confound it. This migraine is really coming on. Oh, get me a glass of brandy, Mary.
All right.
Glad I had that powder. It's the last one, too. Don't tell anyone about this man who's coming here tonight. I don't want anyone to know that I can be visited here. I want to be alone With you.
Worry killed a cow. Here's your brandy, sweet. I hope you feel better soon. Careful, dearie. You're spilling the powder on the rug.
There he is now. Run along, Mary. I'll answer the door.
I'll see you in the morning then, my dear.
Go out the back way. There's a good girl.
All right. Good night.
Good evening. Good evening. In here, please.
This is a lonely room. One chair, one glass of brandy. Just as you would have it. Just as I expected when I looked at it from the outside 3 months ago.
How dare you?
Oh, yes, last spring. I followed you here from your house in London. I know your habits well, Mr. Shall I call you Mr. Bainbridge?
You will address me as Sir Francis.
Your private life as Mr. Frederick Bainbridge is well guarded, isn't it? The innkeeper tells me I'm your first visitor.
You observed my instructions?
Oh, yes. It would have done me no good to betray your innocent privacy.
You will tell me at once what you are here for.
You've made 2 mistakes so far, Sir Francis. Bad ones. I was quite sure you would. I counted on that. You didn't have me thrown out of your club. You invited me here to Moxton. Panic, wasn't it, Sir Francis? I wonder if the club steward heard me tell you my name.
Your name meant nothing to me.
It meant enough for you to bring about this meeting. The innkeeper here knows my name, too, and he'll expect me to return to the inn.
Teal, if that is your name, you will be wise to come to the point of your visit.
And then you chose to see me here alone. That's your second mistake.
You're sure that I am alone?
Oh, yes, quite sure. You've just sent your housekeeper, or whatever you call her, away, and there's no detective with a notebook hiding behind that door.
Why should I take such precautions?
Just for the reason that you have a heavy stick handy, and then, of course, there's your telephone.
Exactly.
May I sit down? My heart's not strong. Oh, no. Don't feel reassured, Sir Francis. It would be unfortunate if I died when, as you claim, you know so little about me.
These threatening remarks can point to only one thing, and I would warn you that...
The name of Teal hasn't a pleasant memory for you, has it? I haven't been out of your mind one moment for 3 days, have I?
I believe you to be an impostor. You've made some clumsy allusions to a friendship which I had for a certain Mabel Teal 30 years ago.
You remember this ring? The initials F.B. are engraved inside it. Francis Britton, Frederick Bainbridge. Strange that you should use the same alias all these years. Another mistake. But it was so long ago.
From what you know, or pretend to know, you expect some gain.
That would look very much like blackmail.
It does.
I'm right again.
And I would have you know that the law is terrible for the blackmailer, and it very properly protects the victim. I shall telephone for the police.
I shouldn't do that. There's no blackmail. I want from you exactly nothing. That confuses you, doesn't it?
What do you want? Who are you?
Panic again, Sir Francis. You don't like panic. You're very severe with those who suffer panic. When you hanged Gosling, you told the jury panic can presuppose guilt as well as innocence. You see, I quote you accurately.
That is what I said.
Could an innocent man have disposed of the girl's body in such a brutish and callous manner? Oh, how you pounced on that.
It was the action of a guilty man.
A frightened boy, Mr. Justice. You don't believe that there can be suicides when murder is suggested?
It was a cowardly crime.
I hope I may hear those words again from you, Mr. Justice.
What do you mean?
Day after day I've sat in your court in the public gallery. 4 times in 6 months I've watched you send men to the rope.
You're quite mad, aren't you?
Huh? Perhaps. And you still think you can deal with that? The madman can be safe behind bars. Oh, but I'm cleverer than you, so don't use your telephone. You'll see there isn't time.
For God's sake, who are you?
The hanging judge gets his verdict. Just the facts and no emotion. The beautiful machine. You're not used to fear, Britain. You've not felt fear for 30 years, but you did then, I know, because I have your letters. Squalid, fearful letters of a coward, written to Mabel Teal, my mother. Your mother? Take them. Read them, Britton. Read them. The Britton case will have its letters, too, and they'll be admissible and relevant. Read them. Read them carefully. Yes, I'm your son. Your son and Mabel Teal's.
I don't believe you. These letters are fake.
Don't bluff, Britton.
Why have you waited all these years,
My mother died a year ago. She kept her secret until the end. She was a fool. Well, that's one you didn't write. You've never seen that one before. It was written to me 1 year ago by a foolish old woman almost your age. My mother. She hadn't had it fat and easy like you. She was sick and dying when...
What?
Not yet. Not yet. Please, God, not yet.
What is it, man? You're ill. What can I do? Here. Drink this brandy.
Oh, it's passing. Angina. I'm prepared for that. I shan't go that way. You can't get rid of me that easily. And it's no use trying to destroy those letters.
You're sick. Sick in mind and body.
Don't try kindness. It's no part of you. I know, for I'm just like you. Just as cold and just as ruthless. It's in the family, you see.
Why have you waited a year to see me?
I wasn't ready. I've been preparing my first and only case. The Britton case. And it's a good one. I'm prosecutor and judge. And you, Mr. Justice, are in the dock. You're indicted for the crime of being without a soul. For the crime of being unloved. For the crime of being without faith. Not even in your law. Have you ever had tears in your eyes? No. The only emotion you ever had was in the writing of those letters. Emotion? Panic. You've panicked before, and you will again. I can give you that feeling you've always scorned, and I will. Stop! I hate you, Britton, because you're like me. Because you gave me life. I loathe you beyond man's belief. Oh. Quick.
What?
There's a capsule in my waistcoat pocket. The right one. Give it to me. Put it in my mouth. I can't.
Here. Now drink the brandy.
Thank you. And you did it. That capsule. Poison. And you gave it to me. Damn you. That's murder. Now, what will you do? I wonder. Oh.
Teal. Stop laughing. Don't fool, man. I'll get a doctor.
Teal!
Dead. Dead.
Good morning, Sir George. Morning, Roberts. When Colonel Archer arrives, tell him I'm in the writing room, will you? Very good, sir.
Morning, Sidney. If it isn't Ronnie Bond. I didn't see you behind the paper. How's the old probate, admiralty and divorce? Bust up any homes today?
No, trade's bad.
Oh, so you're having a nice quiet time reading the murders, eh?
I am, as it happens. Did I hear you mention Colonel Archer? He'll be in this mess down in Norfolk, no doubt.
Oh? Which mess is that?
Don't you read the papers, old boy? They found Teal's body. The chap who disappeared from the pub in Moxton 3 weeks ago.
Oh, so now the fun begins. Where was it found?
In a disused well in the garden of a chap named Bainbridge.
Oh. What has Bainbridge to say about it?
Nothing. As this rag pertinently remarks, it will be recalled that when Teal was last seen at the inn, he expressed his intention of visiting Mr. Bainbridge. From this meeting, he never returned. Mr. Bainbridge is not at present in residence.
Aha.
I suspect, of course, that this is a quite unauthorized announcement. And it's not difficult to see who's been speaking out of turn. Mr. Alfred Motley, the parish clerk of Moxton, gave our correspondent a vivid description of the finding of the body. I had noticed an unpleasant smell coming from Mr. Bainbridge's garden. This aroused my suspicions, and I communicated with Inspector Vincent of the Norfolk Constabulary, who was investigating Teal's disappearance. As a result of what I told him, Inspector Vincent descended into the well and after some difficulty came up with Teal's body. It was in a ghastly condition and had obviously been in the water several weeks.
Yes, rousing attractive, I should say.
The brickwork of the well is raised at least 2 feet above the ground, and I do not see how it would have been possible for Teal to fall in accidentally. Unfortunately, Mr. Bainbridge, who might be able to throw some light on the matter, is away. He is in the habit of paying regular visits to Moxton, but no one knows anything of his life outside. He is believed to be a schoolmaster in Lancashire. You ask your friend Archer what he thinks about that vivid description. Ah, Francis. I didn't know you were back in town.
Oh, I had some business brought me back, and the weather wasn't too good. Morning, Sidney.
Good morning, Judge. If you'll excuse me, I've got a letter to write.
You're in Scotland, weren't you, Judge?
Yes, a walking trip, but the mist became intolerable.
Oh? My wife writes from Goldspeed that the weather was fine.
That's the East Coast. I was in the West Highlands. You must have found the papers interesting this morning, Pond, with your predilection for detective stories. There seems to be a good involved case shaping up in Norfolk.
Yes, I should imagine that it'll turn out to be a murder. Probably motivated by a blackmail attempt.
No, I don't think so. I'd say from the heart weakness that the death was from natural causes.
There's no mention here of the dead man having had a weak heart. Where did you see that?
I seem to remember something to that effect. I must say...
Besides, in the best detective fiction, heart attacks are not timed by nature to occur conveniently on the parapets of wells. You're not at your ease when you're for the defense, Francis. Try the other side, where you're on familiar ground.
When is the inquest?
Huh? Oh, I don't know. It doesn't say in this paper. Oh, yes, Friday. I say, Kent are doing well. What are you going to do for the rest of the vacation? Back to Scotland?
Oh, I rather think I'll go abroad. Where was that place you enjoyed so much 2 years ago?
Oh, Saint-Yvette. Yes, it's delightful. Very quiet and free of English people.
This fellow Bainbridge, he seems to have acquired a substantial anonymity.
Bainbridge? Oh, you're back on the Moxton case. I thought crime bored you. Yes, it seems he was rather anxious to cover himself with mystery.
Or rather, he's had mystery thrust on him. I must say, I wouldn't know how to track him down if I were the police. Of course, they'd have nothing to hold him on if they did find him, would you say?
Good Lord, I don't know. There's no autopsy report on the body, no real information of any kind. I suspect that this whole announcement of yesterday is quite unauthorized.
I dare say. Oh, good Lord, I'll be on circuit in the autumn. Now, if there is a case against Bainbridge and they catch him, it's quite likely that I'll try the case. Oh, no. Norfolk, Eastern Circuit. I shall be in the Midland. Parkinson will have it, yes. Pity. It would have been most interesting. You know, I detest the blackmailer above all. I might be able to vary my impressive list of convictions with an acquittal, and the Bradenham papers might even print an acknowledgement of my dawning humanity.
And you don't read detective stories, Francis? I shall send you 2 or 3 good Thorndikes. What about some lunch? I'm rather peckish.
It's only a little after 12, rather early for lunch, but I'll come and watch you.
I'm sorry to make you lunch so early, Sidney, but I have to be back at Scotland Yard again at 2 o'clock.
Oh, suits me equally well. What'll you have, Archer? We don't have to eat just yet.
Well, dry sherry, thank you.
Strangely enough, I think I'll have a martini, Roberts.
With no vegetables, Sir George?
Wonderful fella.
By the way, I gave this club as my whereabouts during lunchtime, and I may be rung up. I hope you'll forgive me.
Oh, but of course. Well, Archer, you're off to a tough start in your new job.
Yes, quite a difficult case. I called in Scotland Yard yesterday, but that doesn't mean I've given up the case.
I read the newspaper stuff. There's not much to go on.
That confounded statement about the body being found obviously made our quarry run to ground.
Yes.
It got in the papers in spite of the police. But it's pretty clear that we have a murder on our hands, and I'm convinced that this missing fellow Bainbridge is our man.
You fellows don't talk that way without reason. More than meets the eye. At least this eye, is there?
Very much so.
One martini and a sherry, sir.
Oh, thanks, Robert. Oh, may you get your man. Good health.
Cheers.
Tell me about this Bainbridge fellow.
Nobody knows much about him in the district. There was no trace of any other base or residence.
I gather he wasn't very sociable.
Definitely not, no. None of the gentry knew him personally, and only a few by sight. One or two tradesmen and the innkeeper were the only people who had any communication with him. He had a rather unsavory reputation as far as his servant was concerned. He wanted amorous acquiescence in addition to culinary skill.
100% efficiency, what? What was the cause of Teal's death?
Police surgeon reports that it definitely wasn't drowning. No water in the lungs, and the well was almost dry.
Bashed?
No, just superficial marks due to the drop. The well was about 25 feet deep. We're still waiting for the post-mortem report on the stomach.
What did you find on the body?
Only one thing of consequence, but that's quite enough to make me want to find very much Mr. Bainbridge. As this case has gone to the CID, I suppose I shouldn't do this, but... Well, I'm going to show you this squalid little dossier on friend Bainbridge. These documents were found in a sort of secret pocket sewed up in Teal's coat under the left armpit. They were in an oilskin wallet, and with the exception of the outside ones, they were not too badly spoiled. Yes, they're copies, of course, photostats. The first one's a birth certificate. Notice the names?
Francis Mabel Teal. Frederick Bainbridge.
And the date?
November 30th, 35 years ago.
About Teal's age, according to the doctor's best guess.
Yes, it looks as if the fellow was a relation of Bainbridge's. What's your Bainbridge's first name?
Frederick. This letter is June, the year before.
Sweet puss, hip hip hooray. I shall be back by the weekend after all, so prepare a little super intime and some extra kisses for your own Fredrikins who simply cannot contain his impatience. This is worse than the Channel crossing.
The next three are in the same style, but this one isn't so funny. I'll read it. It's rather illegible. Dear Mabel, this is quite disastrous. Are you absolutely sure? There must be something you can do about it. If it costs money, I might scrape together 50. The point is, it must be stopped. Write soon and tell me you've arranged something. Much love, F.
Yes, that's not a pretty letter. What's the date?
About 7 months before the birth certificate.
Clear enough. Can I see the next?
This is a week later.
My dear Mabel, I'm shocked and surprised. I must repudiate all responsibility. And so on. I think you will agree it will be undesirable for us to meet again. Sincerely, F.B. Filthy swine.
The next is the spoiled one. I'll read it. It's in another hand and no year or address. How like a woman. My dearest boy, these letters, the only ones I ever received from your father, whom I knew as Frederick Bainbridge, will explain how you came to be born. Your father is elderly, successful, and childless. Now a lot of it's gone. Chance I found out from a newspaper photo who he really was. Now, therefore, a very important... this is maddening. Your loving mother, Mabel Teal.
I suppose there's no question of it being your Bainbridge?
Not the slightest. My inspector got the specimen of his handwriting, application for a gun license, exactly the same.
Yes, well, I can see why you want to find your elusive Mr. Bainbridge. What a swine. Teal was making what might be called a collection, a shakedown, as the Americans say, I suppose.
Yes, obviously.
When did Bainbridge leave Moxton?
About a week ago, 8 days to be exact.
Was he ever questioned when Teal failed to show up at the inn?
Oh, Lord, yes, I questioned him myself. Living nearby, I went to see him with Inspector Vincent, whom I put on the disappearance of Teal.
What was this Bainbridge like?
Rather fine-looking chap. Rising 60, I think. I got the impression he was a fellow who was used to having authority, rather truculent.
How far has the chase gone?
Well, we hadn't much to go on. The departure was sudden and, of course, unknown to my men. It was the day after Vincent and I had interviewed him. We traced him to Liverpool Street Station, but we got no further than that.
No photographs in the house?
No, none.
Well, if you can catch him, we've got the complete legal staff to put him on the gibbet right here in this club. Everybody in the hanging game but the public executioner. I think we'd better have another drink before we eat, what? Oh, Judge, this is Colonel Archer. He's trying to drum up some business for you.
How do you do?
How do you do?
I am, as you see, in the inevitable bewilderment of trying to find a train in the timetable. Never a happy experience.
I believe we've met before.
Really? I don't remember. Oh, of course, yes. It was at Moxton. You're in the police, are you not? You came to see me about the disappearance of this poor vagrant, his name...
Teal.
Ah, yes, Teal. Rather an unfortunate turn to the case, I see. I can understand the Colonel's confusion, Sidney, for he met me at my Norfolk house under the name of Bainbridge, a name which I used to ensure privacy during my leisure time.
Good God.
May I complete Sir George's introduction, Colonel? I'm Sir Francis Britton, one of His Majesty's High Court judges.
I'm glad you've admitted your identity as Frederick Bainbridge. Sir Francis, well, this is very unpleasant for me, but I must ask you to accompany me to Scotland Yard for questioning.
On what matter, Colonel?
On the matter of the death of John Teal.
I believe I've given you all the information I can on that matter, Colonel Archer.
Circumstances have altered since I last saw you. We now know the man is dead.
Do you intend to charge me with homicide?
That will depend on your answers to certain questions.
Of course, I realize my position is an equivocal one. One pays dearly for the privilege of privacy, doesn't one? But at this stage, I prefer to say nothing. May I consult my solicitor, Sir Ronald Pond, who is now in the dining room?
Certainly.
Perhaps Colonel Archer would like to keep me in sight. Would you be kind enough to fetch Pond from the dining room, Sidney?
Oh, very well. Oh, Pond, can you come in here?
This must embarrass you considerably, Colonel. It's unfortunate that we continue to meet under such tiresome circumstances.
Well, what is it? Did you want me?
Pond, I apologize for disturbing you at lunch. This gentleman is Colonel Archer, who is chief of the Norfolk Constabulary.
How do you do?
How do you do?
He wishes to question me in the matter of the death of one John Teal.
What?
Oh, my dear Pond, please curb your amazement. I quite share it. I'd like to talk to you privately, perhaps in the guest room. I'm sure Sir Ronald will be responsible for my return, Colonel. Come along, Pond.
But what on earth is all this about, Francis?
Well, I'm damned. I always knew that old goat was a wrong 'un. Well, you know your law and police standards, Archer. You've got enough on him to charge him?
About as clear a case as could be for the murder of John Teal.
That from you is convincing. I wonder what's being concocted in the guest room. Pond's about the most slippery lawyer in this country.
Excuse me, Sir George. Colonel Archer is wanted on the phone. Inspector Vincent. I put him through here.
Oh, thank you, Roberts. I'll take it there, Archer.
Thank you. Hello. Colonel Archer here. Yes, Vincent? Yes. Yes, I see. Definitely not hot. I see, yes. Well, stay there, Vincent. I'll phone you in a few minutes. Vincent at Scotland Yard, the post-mortem shows that Teal died of cyanide poisoning.
That's complete, I should say.
Yes, complete.
I'll lay you 5-1 you can't hold Britain.
I wouldn't like that.
I'm certain that Pond is at this moment telephoning to the Home Office to get this thing hushed up. That pusillanimous ass Gilbert West is having the bee put on him, as sure as God made little apples.
Sidney, I was brought up on the dogma that the law is no respecter of persons. I know it doesn't always work that way, but it has wherever I've had any authority.
The idea of a damned High Court judge getting away with a murder for which a lesser man would hang doesn't appeal to me. But if the powers that be want it, a thick cloud can come down from above and cover up this pretty dirty affair. I wouldn't like that. Not one little bit.
There's another call for Colonel Archer, sir.
Thank you, Roberts.
Thank you. Colonel Archer here. Yes, Commissioner? What? Do nothing? Well, this is my case, and I'm going ahead. Well, I'm damned. You had the post-mortem report. Very good, General, but I do this under protest. The Home Secretary has instructed the police to do nothing in the matter of Britain's arrest until further investigations can be carried out. On no account is he to be taken to Scotland Yard.
Well, Pond worked fast, and the Home Secretary played true to form. Archer, would you like to see their game spoiled without prejudice to your position?
Indeed I would.
There's a way it can be done. Will you excuse me while I make a phone call?
Certainly.
And as it's going to Lord Bradenham of the Daily Globe, I think I'd better make it from outside. Too many damn lawyers here, what? I'll see you at the Garrick in half an hour.
Right. For a policeman's taste, there are always too many lawyers. Anywhere.
Oh, Colonel Archer.
Ah, hello, Pond.
I think, if you've not already had them, you will shortly receive instructions from Scotland Yard regarding your conduct of the Teal matter.
I know, Pond. I've been instructed to drop our investigations in the Teal case as far as Frederick Bainbridge is concerned.
I need hardly say that I can't imagine what odd combination of circumstances has led you to follow your strange course, Colonel. I told you at our last meeting all I knew of the man Teal and his disappearance. Of course, I sympathize with you in your disappointment. But I have an idea that you will not find the case of poor Teal as triumphantly simple as you had supposed.
Probably not, sir. I want to apologize to you for I've acted in good faith. Not a quality which my profession meets with too often. Good afternoon.
Damned impudence. I'm not in the habit of accepting remarks like that from confounded police officials. I've a good mind.
I think you had best remain quiet about this, Francis. We've dodged a rather ugly situation rather neatly, I think.
Damnation, Pond, what do you mean? You talk as if there was a case against me.
Now, steady, Francis. I realize that you're innocent in this affair, but granted that you are Bainbridge, there is a case against you. How strong, we don't know. Now, West will be here in a couple of minutes from the Home Office. Before he comes, I must be clear about one thing. When the report came out that the body had been found, why didn't you go to the police? You knew about it from our conversation before lunch. Such an action would have made your position quite secure.
Well, I'd already told Archer all I knew. When I was certain that my identity as Bainbridge could not be traced to me as Britain. I couldn't have foreseen this confounded encounter with Archer.
Yes, I see. Where were you after you left Moxton?
At home in London. Oh, it may have been an error of judgment to leave, but such mistakes aren't of necessity evidence of guilt.
They have sometimes been so interpreted from the bench, Francis.
Confound it, Pond, I'm not on trial.
We'll try to see to it that you won't be.
Tell me, Pond, how far is West prepared to go in withholding the police from further action against me?
I don't know. As I told you, his instant reaction was to stop immediate investigation. Of course, he knew nothing of the police case when I spoke to him.
Nor do we. Pond, I've made two grave mistakes. To leave Moxton was a blunder. But when I did so, the matter was merely an unexplained disappearance of a vagrant. And you can see that police curiosity would perhaps have exposed this double life of mine.
Innocent as it was.
Exactly. But my second mistake was worse. When Archer recognized me here, before I sent for you, he asked me to go with him to Scotland Yard for questioning. And I asked him then if he were charging me with the homicide of Teal.
I see. That was unfortunate. But it's inadmissible, for you'd not been charged or warned.
Quite, but I don't like it. Mine was a natural question. You and I had been discussing the case, you remember? And the circumstances seemed
I shouldn't worry about that. You said that Archer had talked to you some days after the man had disappeared. What had you told him then?
Merely a brief account of Teal's visit to me. That he was a man who'd done me a service some years ago and that I'd helped him financially in small ways several times. I described him as extremely overwrought at the time, and I think I mentioned the possibility of suicide being in his mind.
You're sure you said that?
Yes, I'm fairly certain that I said that. Of course, I knew nothing of the circumstances of his life and said that to Archer, too.
But you made the suggestion that the man might be dead?
Yes, I did.
I see.
Good morning, Bretton.
Pond?
West?
Yes, all right.
I'm glad you both waited here. I didn't want you to come to the Home Office, Britain, in the circumstances. What a damn ridiculous situation this is. I've talked to General Fellows of the CID since you rang me, Pond. I may say he's as embarrassed as I am. Well, fortunately, only one or two Scotland Yard people, and Archer, of course, know of your identity as Bainbridge, Britain. In view of all the circumstances, I think I can say the case will not be pressed at this time.
You're holding off, Major?
Yes, there's no question that the police have a sort of case against you, Bainbridge.
I don't like that, West.
What is the case, Major?
Well, the main points are that the man died of cyanide poisoning.
What's that? Poison?
The Home Office analysis report came in this morning, and some letters were found on the body.
What letters? But there couldn't have been.
Yes, a packet of letters were found sewn up in the man's coat, which, if genuine, could point to a blackmail attempt against Bainbridge. That implies a possible motive on the part of Bainbridge to get rid of the fellow.
That's not the whole case, of course.
No, there are other cumulative facts.
Not a strong case, I'd say.
Well, no, it would seem not. After all, the case may turn out to be a suicide, and the letters may be forgeries. In which case it would be appalling to subject the judge to the humiliation of clearing himself.
And what of the inquest?
On no account must you appear. Yes, I'm quite certain we're doing the right thing. I see no reason on God's earth to drag you through the mud of defending yourself, and the scandal to the bench must be avoided.
Right.
I say, excuse me, you fellows. Have you seen this in the Globe Stop Press?
What is it, Lamprey?
The missing man Bainbridge in the body in the well case has been identified as Sir Francis Britton, the High Court judge.
Good God.
In the name of heaven, how did they get hold of that?
There must have been some leakage.
It's Sidney's doing. He was here when Archer recognized me.
Sidney gave this to the press? Well, what a dastardly thing. But what is Braddon about to print it? Why the blazes can't these press fellows mind their own business? It takes the matter right out of my hands. I'm sorry, Britton. I'm deeply sorry. I would have done anything in my power.
You mean the case is open?
I'm afraid with this publicity there'll be no holding the police.
But surely, Major.
I'm sorry, but there it is.
But it's impossible.
Pond, please. You seem to forget. I have faith in the law. I put my trust in the law of England.
Hanging judge on murder charge. Hanging judge on murder charge.
Thank you, sir. Very much.
Hanging judge on murder charge.
Take Philip. Don't you, steady.
I need not remind the Council of your experience, Mr. Nottingham, that members of the jury will be greatly assisted in their task if you confine your questions to what is relevant.
I thank your Lordship. I shall endeavour to be concise. Sir Francis, you admit authorship of the letters addressed to Mabel Teal, which the court has heard read?
I admit it.
Do you not consider them to be a particularly blackguardly piece of work?
I express no opinion.
Then we leave that to the jury to decide. You were known at Moxton as Mr. Frederick Bainbridge.
Yes.
As far as your life there was concerned, you took great pains to conceal your true identity.
That is so.
Why did you do this?
As a person whose name was fairly well known to the public, I wished to evade public interest. And particularly the attention of neighbours who, if they knew who I was, might intrude on the privacy which was the object of my retreat.
The object was not to lead a loose sort of life, which, if you were known to be one of His Majesty's judges, would result in a nationwide scandal and possibly very unpleasant consequences to yourself.
Oh, really, my lord, I must protest against my very friend's question.
Is it necessary for my friend to indulge in these gratuitous interruptions, my lord?
I find the question quite admissible, Mr. Lamprey.
I submit to your lordship, of course.
Do you wish me to repeat the question, Sir Francis?
The suggestion is insulting and entirely untrue.
The object was simply to avoid the annoying publicity that inevitably follows a prominent man.
Yes.
You were known to Mabel Teal as Frederick Bainbridge, were you not?
Yes.
Would you describe yourself as a prominent man at that stage in your career?
Hardly.
What then was the object of your alias at that time?
The motive was fundamentally the same. I wished to keep my public and private life in separate compartments. I adopted the name of Frederick Bainbridge for my private life.
For a private life which would not bear a close scrutiny.
I do not admit that.
Is it not true that you have periodically been leading a Jekyll and Hyde existence? The Hyde being represented by Mr. Frederick Bainbridge?
I do not admit that.
Have you ever done any amateur photography, Sir Francis?
No.
Or gold or silver electroplating?
No.
You are aware that in these processes and in photography, potassium cyanide is employed.
I have heard so.
You had no legitimate reason for having a supply of cyanide in your house at any time?
No reason at all.
Yet cyanide crystals were found on the rug in your living room.
So we have been told.
Are you suggesting that Inspector Vincent is a perjurer?
I make no suggestion. I only say that to the best of my knowledge, there was no potassium cyanide in the house while I was living there.
Turning now to the events on the night of Teal's death. Is it true that just before Teal's arrival at the house, you told the witness Mary Reddish that you were suffering from a migraine?
That is so.
And that in her presence you emptied into a glass of brandy what the witness described as a whitish powder contained in a paper packet?
I did.
What was that powder, Sir Francis?
It was a headache powder.
You were in the habit of using these powders to relieve migraine?
I've used them for many years.
How do you account for the fact that in your medicine chest there were found no powders answering to this description?
Quite simply. The powder in question was the last one. There were none left.
Quite so. The powder in question was the only one?
The last one.
While you were emptying the powder into the glass of brandy, is it true that Mary Reddish called your attention to the fact that some of the powder was spilling onto the rug?
Possibly. I have no recollection of it.
You agree it is possible that you did spill a quantity of this powder on the rug?
Of course it is possible. I just don't remember doing so.
And you cannot account for the presence on the rug of cyanide crystals?
I've already said that I cannot.
I put it to you, Sir Francis, that you can account for it. That the so-called headache powder was in fact a quantity of potassium cyanide. That you used it to prepare a fatal drink which you gave to your visitor.
I did no such thing.
That he collapsed almost immediately and that you dragged his body out into the garden and flung it into the well.
Untrue and absurd. The whole suggestion is fantastic.
Earlier in cross-examination, you denied that you were expecting Teal to visit you at Moxton.
Yes.
Subsequently, the jury heard William Roberts testify that 3 days before Teal met his death, he, Roberts, overheard part of an interview which took place at the Adelphi Club in London between yourself and a man calling himself by the name of Teal. I put it to you that you concealed this interview from the jury because you wished them to believe that the Moxton meeting was not prearranged and that therefore you did not have the opportunity of planning to take Teal's life.
I did not take his life.
Why did you curtail your holiday, Sir Francis?
To avoid questions rising out of Teal's disappearance that might lead to a disclosure of my identity.
You realized, did you not, that the body would inevitably be found sooner or later? That Mr. Bainbridge would then come under suspicion? And that it was necessary for Sir Francis to make a clean break from his alias while there was yet time?
There was no question of suspicion.
Allowing only a decent interval to elapse after Teal's disappearance so that you should not be immediately associated with it.
That, to an extent, is true. Though, as I have already told you, the motive was not the one that you impute to me.
You heard, no doubt, Colonel Archer testify to your having given him a very different account of the relationship between yourself and John Teal.
His evidence is true on that point. My account was a false one, given for the obvious reason that I did not wish to reveal my connection with Teal.
You repeated that account at the inquest on Teal?
I did.
You perjured yourself?
Yes.
That is the case for the Crown, my lord.
You will wish to re-examine Mr. Lamprey?
No, thank you, my lord.
I hardly think that with the time remaining to us. I shall therefore adjourn until tomorrow.
Oh, good Lord, Pond, I'm tired. Thank God the crown is finished.
What would you think Britain has on his mind to send for us?
We'll know soon enough. Here he is. Owen.
Good evening.
Evening, Sir Francis.
Francis. Well, Francis, that's all they have to say, and I don't think we've done too badly.
No, by Jove, no. A lot of circumstantial stuff and a mountain of improbability. I think you've had the worst of it.
Don't lie to me, Lamprey. It's an appallingly strong case against me, and the turns have not been in my favor.
Sit down, Francis.
It's your time to dine, isn't it? I'm sorry to disturb you like this.
Quite all right.
Everything has gone soundly against me. And the Crown will grind me to pieces with those letters.
Then why didn't you let us fight them? We had a handwriting expert.
Because the truth is that I did write them.
I doubt if Parkinson will let him go too far on that tack. Parkinson is on our side.
Parkinson is a good judge, and he will allow the Crown to use the letters to the full. I would. No. My only defense must be the truth. Now remember that, Lamprey. Teal committed suicide.
Yes. Yes, that's a defense theory, but hypothetical solutions...
It is not hypothetical. No, it is not. Teal did not leave the house alive. I saw him die.
You what? You don't know what you're saying.
He had 2 seizures. Attacks of violent pain. During the first, he took a tablet or a capsule from his left-hand pocket, which seemed to relieve him. He explained that he suffered from angina pectoris. A second seizure came, more severe. He was helpless. He asked me to administer another capsule. I did so. He made me take it from his right-hand pocket and place it in his mouth. He planned it all. That was the poison. He snatched the brandy and drank it. He was dead in a few moments.
Good God.
Why haven't you told us this? You told us that he walked out of your house quietly.
I know I did. I told that to the police, and I so testified at the inquest. I perjured myself again.
But, good God, where are we now? What happened after he died?
I thought what to do for a long time. First, I wanted to phone the police, but I thought. I didn't do that. I examined the body, made sure he was dead, and then I took the letters he had shown me and burned them. And then, long afterwards, I dragged the body out to the well and dropped it in.
You didn't find the wallet with the letters?
No, I thought those I read and destroyed were the real and the only ones that he had.
Why didn't you tell the police?
Yes, great heaven, why didn't you?
Why didn't I? Can't you see? I can. You think it's incredible that a man such as I, Britain, a judge, should have done this mad thing? I've persuaded juries to send men to the gallows for such acts. Brutish and deliberate, I've called it. It is difficult to believe that an innocent man could have disposed of the girl's body in such a callous, brutish way. Yes. He was a young man. The jury believed me. They always did. I could have told them what panic does to men. I knew what it does. Panic made me write a letter once to urge a girl to have an abortion. You heard it read in court. Panic isn't a sudden horror. Not always. It can be a creeping thing. I wrote that letter over and over again. I watched Teal's body most of the night. I dropped it in the well at 4 a.m. Sometimes I had the telephone receiver in my hand. But gradually it became too late to telephone. Oh, you may not believe or understand me. Fear gave place to reason. I was Frederick Bainbridge as I stared at that body. It was Bainbridge who was in danger, not Britain. Slowly, I reasoned that if I told the police, it would be certain that Britain would be involved. Whatever mistakes I made as Bainbridge, I could still flee to the safety of my own name. That is why I followed the course of the chief killer. I believed it.
But why did you remain there at Moxton for 10 days
The longer I could delay direct suspicion of Bainbridge, the better. But after Archer's visit, I thought it best for Bainbridge to vanish.
Francis, you must know that this revelation throws our whole defense out the window.
It's the truth. Now it's only the truth.
What in God's name is my course now?
You know this means your humiliation and professional ruin, Francis.
I've already accepted both, in full measure. I've abandoned my career and my honor. I'm fighting now only to save my neck.
I'm quite aware, sir. So is Pond of the gravity of this case. But I can't fight it when the ground is blown from under my feet. I would like to know why you waited until this moment to tell us of this fact.
How many times I've asked that question. Asked it of a quivering wretch like myself. It's a stupid question and unanswerable.
Francis, why do you tell us this now? Coming at this point, you know it must go against you. Why don't you let...
My only hope is to prove that Teal died by his own intention, and I saw him die.
Pond, I don't know what to do. I have to admit perjury, and I have an admission that Britain saw him die. Not only that, he saw Teal drink the brandy with the powder. And the Crown has made a mighty pay to suggest the powder was cyanide. But now I have to admit that he administered a capsule just before death.
But I didn't know what the capsule was. And what I say now is the truth. I don't believe the truth can ever convict an innocent man in this country under the law of England.
Hello, Nottingham.
Oh, there you are. I've waited for you over an hour, Sidney. I don't know what you want with me, but I hope it's not some of your backdoor nonsense.
By no means, old chap. I'm deadly serious. That's only natural. I've seen 4 days of this trial.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed yourself. I haven't.
It's the wrong side of the fence for you, the Crown, isn't it? Queer experience yesterday watching you flatten Britain. A pitiable object he was.
Sidney, what is the reason for this meeting?
To put to you a leading question, old boy. Is it possible that Britain's latest fantasy disturbed you as it did me and perhaps old Parkinson?
You mean, do I believe Britain's new story of the suicide, seeing Teal die?
You think I used the right word? Fantasy?
The right word? Yes, of course I don't believe it.
Well, I can't forget Britain yesterday and that preposterous story, which I, for one, believe.
Good God. You believed Britain?
I did. What guilty man could make up that fairy tale? I put the capsule in his mouth. That was the poison I did not know. Those were his words, Nottingham, and he had to admit perjury to say them. Perjury. The lawyer's mortal sin.
But he had motive, adequate motive, and opportunity.
There's no adequate motive for murder, Nottingham. I've heard that from you. Yes, I believed him. He stuck to it while you ground him to pieces. I'm not asking you what you thought. Perhaps I know, but...
Damnation, Sidney. No man like Britain would be a panic-stricken fool.
Quoting Mr. Justice Britain makes you feel more secure, old boy. Uneasy lies the head that's for the crown, eh? Nottingham, if you found that one of your witnesses knew something vital to the case, which had not yet come out in evidence, what would you do?
Recall him tomorrow and produce the testimony.
Regardless of the fact that what comes out might work for the defense?
I'm an officer of the court. I can withhold nothing, no matter what the result.
If you hadn't said that, I'd have gone to Parkinson. But I knew you would. Lamprey and Pond would run away from it. I know how the cyanide crystals got on the rug.
What? How?
Wait a minute. Mary, come in, will you?
Mary? Who is it?
Mary Reddish.
You're mad, Sidney, tampering with a witness. What does she know?
Yes, sir?
Now, Mary, I want you to answer the questions I ask you, just as you did when we met at Moxton. Trust me, you do, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Right now, tell Mr. Nottingham what you told me. How did the cyanide crystals get on the rug?
They spilled when I was cleaning the mug.
What mug?
The big silver mug which Sir Francis asked me to clean while he was away.
What did you clean it with?
Some stuff in a bottle that I got from Mr. Murchison, the jeweler.
And what did he tell you about it?
He said it'll shine horseshoes, but don't give it to the cat.
And what did he say was in the bottle when you went back yesterday and asked him?
He said it was a solution of 1 in 8 cyanide of...
Potassium?
Yes, sir.
Did you tell him why you wanted the cleaner?
Yes, to clean the silver mug.
And who it was for?
I said it was for me.
Why?
Because, well, they don't like it. Me being with Mr. Bainbridge.
What did you do with the bottle afterwards?
It was empty and I threw it on the rubbish heap.
Oh, your witness, Nottingham.
Why didn't you tell this to us before?
I didn't know what was in the bottle. I didn't think it was important. Then I got to thinking and I remembered about the cat. Oh, sir, this might be bad for him. Everything I've said so far has been bad for him.
Now, Miss Reddish, you may have saved Sir Francis. You've certainly done him no harm. Now, go along and wait in my car. Go along, there's a good girl.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
I've got a job to do, Sidney, and I'm out for a conviction.
So speaks a lawyer with a heart.
Would cyanide in solution leave traces when it evaporated a month or so later?
Too bad for the Crown, Nottingham, it would. I'm not a director of United Chemicals for nothing. I got our chief analyst to tell me that it would, and there's evidence that the solution was used on the cup.
Good God, it may get him off. But it could mean proof of possession of the poison. If the jury believe her, then Britain's acquitted. But if they don't, and she's about as tarnished as the mug you talk about, then Britain will hang, and perhaps she will too. I can only bring out her story in direct examination. Lamprey will leave her alone, of course, and that evidence is better for Britain coming from the prosecution, you clever swine. I'll call this jeweler. What's his name?
Murchison. He's in my car, too. If I'd been in Moxton much longer, I'd have needed a bus. Damn lawyers can't find your own evidence.
I have read to you from my notes the testimony as to the date of purchase of the fluid by the witness Reddish. Members of the jury, in your deliberations, you have arrived at a point of perplexity among yourselves. It is understandable, yes, quite understandable, in view of the additional testimony of this witness. I direct you to place no importance whatsoever upon the recalling of Reddish by the prosecution rather than by the defense. I remind you that under English law, the prosecution is mindful that all facts shall be presented to the jury, not only the facts that are adverse to the defense. That will clear for you the confusion caused by the late admission of this testimony. As to its value, I do most earnestly direct you that if you believe this witness, Mary Reddish, there can be reasonable doubt, I repeat, reasonable doubt, as to the guilt of the accused. Now you will again retire and consider your verdict.
Our job, Bowman, and it's a hard one, is to decide on the facts we've been given if we think the prisoner is guilty or not.
But the judge said beyond reasonable doubt, and that's what I have.
A reasonable doubt.
Well, we've made up our minds, 11 of us, all but you.
The judge believes Mary Reddish.
It's our verdict we're handing in, not the judge's. How can you believe the word of a girl like that?
If you don't go along with us, all this trial goes for nothing.
You can't hold out any longer, Bowman. We've been at it over 3 hours now.
But if I agree with all of you, then we're hanging him. And I'm not sure.
How long are we going to wait to do our duty? Every fact's against this man. I don't care what the judge says.
Britons have plenty of poor blokes in the dock himself and never turned a hair.
11 of us believe in a guilty verdict in spite of the judge.
You all hate Britain, that's why.
That's not true.
Of course not. The man's had a fair trial, and the facts are against him.
Hello? Yes? It's just striking midnight. I'm at the Adelphic Club, and I'm leaving for Norwich now. I'll be at the jail 2 hours before the time, about 7. No, nothing. I'm quite certain there won't be a stay. I was at the Home Office just an hour ago. What? Oh, has he? Yes, I understand. Very good, Condon. I'll see you at 7. Britton has just asked to see the governor again.
Well, you're off now, eh?
Yes, I suppose so, Sidney. I'd rather drive tonight than try to sleep. Seemed on the point of rain when I came in here just now. A dreary drive out of town at the best of times, but... Well, in spite of your hospitality, Sidney, I'm not exactly at ease in this place. Good God, we got what we were after.
Speak for yourself.
I'm only a policeman. That's a simple job, but not a pleasant one now. 9 hours to go. Poor devil. Pond and Lamprey will probably be along in a minute. They won't have accomplished much for the Home Secretary.
Oh, I thought you had gone home, Nottingham.
I've been up in the library. Evening, Arthur.
Evening, I just called in to see Sidney.
It's nicer to meet you here than Norwich. Oh, Lord, I ought to go to bed, but even this hole is preferable.
I suppose they'll give him sedatives or something to see him through.
Oh, yes. The governor was with him 2 hours ago, Nottingham. He's about the same.
Have you seen him?
Yes, this morning. Condon took me to have a look at him. Confidentially, the Home Office wanted some sort of layman's opinion about his condition. Pond's been trying for a stay on mental grounds. A couple of alienists have seen him.
What is his condition?
Nothing to stop us going ahead.
Yes, Nottingham, you wanted a conviction and you got it. And you made it stick.
Oh, damn you, Sidney, I've had enough of your knight in armour.
Your words, old man, delivered right here. And here comes the defence. What has the defence accomplished, Lamprey, apart from failing to impress 12 of the usual clubs?
There's nothing on God's green earth that we or you can do now, and we may as well admit it.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And the end is only hours away.
Oh, Mr. Lamprey, your clerk is waiting for you in the guest room. He's been there since 8 o'clock.
Thank you, Roberts. I'll see him. Well, my conscience is clear. I've done everything I could.
I think we can both rest easy on that score.
Oh, hell take you and your damn consciences. What lawyer ever had one?
I'm sorry to intrude, Mr. Lamprey, but I've been waiting for you some time, and I believe this letter may be of importance.
Quite right, Hodgson.
It was delivered to your chambers about 6 o'clock. An old woman brought it. Said it had to be delivered to you tonight, and I believed her. She was quite willing to give me her address.
Thank you, Hodgson. Would you mind waiting in the guest room?
Yes, sir. I apologize for intruding, gentlemen.
Britain's being a judge has been against him all along. Any bricklayer or butcher would have had a better chance.
Britain's being damned unpopular has fixed him. Well, there's no petition to worry about this time. Let's face it, if we got a reprieve from him, there would have been an outcry. And I'm the fellow who believed he was innocent when the chips were down, which is probably more than you birds can say.
That's below the belt. All I know is we did our best for our client. A jury thought Britain murdered Teal. 3 judges of appeal thought he was fairly tried. And the public thought so, too. As for me, I don't know. He's to be hanged at 9 o'clock. As I thought, another crank letter. I've had dozens of them.
Threatening you if you got Britain off, I imagine.
Yes, most of them. Oh, but this one is for the defence. Listen to this. The defense counsel of Sir Francis Britton, whoever you may be, you will be right in your defense. The suicide theory is correct.
Fine time for encouragement.
But as you won't believe in it yourself, you will fail. Britain will panic.
For God's sake, tear the damn thing up.
No, go on.
Lies are easy at first, and bodies can be hidden. And Britain will only tell the truth when it is too late, and even the truth becomes a lie. The truth that John Teal swallowed poison before Britain's eyes.
My God, don't waste time with that gibberish.
Give it to me.
Oh, I agree with you, Pond. If we listened to every damn crank who wanted to interfere...
That letter didn't sound like a crank's.
Archer, come here. Finish this letter. You notice the signature? I'm going to telephone.
John Teal.
Good God. That letter's before the fact. This envelope's been through the post. It's marked August the 3rd, Moxford.
Not so fast. It's probably a fake. How can we verify it?
There's enough for a stay.
Of course there is.
Good God. Here's a set of fingerprints inside. And a postscript. My fingerprints are to be found in the files of the Harden Mental Home in Lancashire under the name of John Leet.
Hello, Trunks.
Who are you calling?
Oh, get me in Norwich jail. This is a police emergency.
We should ring the Home Office.
Hell take the Home Office. I'm saving him from a night's agony. No, I tell you, clear this line.
The Home Secretary is the only person who can stop this.
Hello. Is that Norwich jail? I'm Sir George Sidney. I want to speak to the governor. Tell him it's urgent. All right, get him.
If this is a fake, Sidney, it's the cruelest thing you can do.
Of course it's not a fake. And I'm the one who nearly put him on the gibbet. My God.
Teal thought of everything. If Britain was convicted, this letter was not to be delivered until the eve of the execution. It's the most fiendish thing I've ever seen.
Hello? Are you the governor? Oh, just a minute. I'll put Colonel Archer on.
Hello? Condon? This is Archer. We've just received a letter which I believe genuine and which proves Britain's innocence. Yes, I know it's a matter for the Home Secretary. We're getting him, but whatever happens, hold off. What? You can't mean it.
What is it?
What?
Britain has just signed a confession. What? Well, hold off till you hear from the Home Office.
The prisoner of Britain, sir.
Oh, come in, Sir Francis. All right, Blake, you may close the door. Sit down, Sir Francis.
Britain, your torture's over.
Wait, Sidney.
Why has there been a stay, sir? Why have you sent for me? You have my confession. There was only one reason to leave my cell. That was to be the end. That time was yesterday.
We have good news for you.
This case is closed. Just the end remains. The law does not torture. There should be no delay.
Don't you see your friends, your solicitor and Sir George Sidney have come to tell you themselves?
Francis, a wrong has been righted. You're free.
No. It must be finished. I have had judgment.
Francis, you don't seem to understand. A letter was delivered to us yesterday, in time, thank God, written by the dead man, Teal, in which he states his intention of killing himself in your presence.
Your pardon, Britain. A free pardon.
No. A pardon. I can't bear that. That means the law was wrong.
Great God, you must believe us.
I do believe you. That is my horror.
It was suicide, just as you said, Britain. He didn't want to kill you. He wanted to torture you up to the moment of death. He was a callous, ruthless, cruel fiend.
He was my son. And he has won. He planned it. That I should betray everything I believed. By panic, lies, treachery. Be fairly tried, rightly condemned, and yet live on. I signed my confession, one final lie. That would have been my secret. It would have set the pattern right. But and now I am condemned to live. And my living makes a mockery of the faith I held.
An innocent man's been saved from the gallows. Isn't that justice?
Better an innocent man should die than that a law be made a fake. I wish that I were dead. May I go, sir, please?
That was Hanging Judge, a play by Raymond Massey based on a novel by Bruce Hamilton, adapted for broadcasting by John Richmond. Sir Francis Bittenden was played by Boris Karloff, Sir George Sidney by Hugh Manning, Keith Nottingham by Duncan MacIntyre, Miles Lamprey by Harrison Culf, Sir Ronald Pond by Robert Webber, Colonel George Archer by Richard Williams, Major Gilbert West by Norman Claridge, John Teal by T. St. John Barry, Mary Reddish by Gabriel Blunt, Roberts by Richard Hutton. Other parts were played by Geoffrey Bond, John Casaubon, Brian Hayes, Peter Hoare, Arthur Lawrence, Stanley Mackenzie, and Tony Quinn. The recorded production was by Cleland Finn.
From New York, where the American stage begins, NBC presents Best Plays, transcribed with John Chapman. Best Plays, a series of hour-length dramas based on famous theatrical books, begun by the late Burns Mantle, now edited by the distinguished drama critic of the New York Daily News, John Chapman.
Mr. Chapman, good evening. Almost 600 years ago, a man named Geoffrey Chaucer coined a phrase. He couldn't spell very well, apparently, so what he wrote must have sounded to him something like this. Mordre wall out, certain, it wall not file. We've been practicing up on spelling and pronunciation during the last few centuries and have figured out that what Chaucer meant was, murder will out, certainly. It can't miss. And so it can't. It rarely misses in the theater. The season of 1940-41 was an excellent one for murder and for comedy and the best plays of the Broadway theater. Owen Davis had adapted a novel by Francis and Richard Lockridge, Mr. and Mrs. North, about an attractive young couple blundering their way into the detective business, and this play was a hit. Joseph Kesselring wrote another one about murder by the dozen, which he originally titled Bodies in Our Cellar. This turned out to be Arsenic and Old Lace, which had 1,444 performances. Only 6 other plays in the history of the Broadway stage have run longer. In the company on the first night of January 10, 1941, were Boris Karloff, Jean Adair, and other fine comedians. Now, in this Best Plays performance, we have Mr. Karloff and Donald Cook as 2 strangely different brothers. Mr. Cook currently is starring in the Broadway hit The Moon is Blue. Our company also includes Jean Adair and Edgar Staley from the original production, and Evelyn Varden as the nice little lady who likes to give all her guests elderberry wine. The performance is beginning. On a quiet street under the arching elms in the town of Brooklyn, New York, the old Brewster home stands in dignified and over-decorated glory. The gas mantles are still in the hall, although electricity was installed several years ago. It's tea time, and Miss Abby Brewster pours. The minister is visiting, and Miss Abby and her nephew Teddy are most attentive.
Won't you have another biscuit, Dr. Harper?
Oh, no, Miss Abby. I always eat too many of your biscuits just to taste the lovely jam.
But you haven't tried the quince. We always put a little apple in with it to take the tartness out. We'll send you over a jar. Teddy, more tea.
What? Bully. Miss Abby, I've been meaning to speak to you about your nephew, Mortimer, I mean.
Oh, yes. I understand he's taking Elaine to the theater again tonight. Teddy, your brother Mortimer will be here a little later.
Delighted.
We're so happy it's Elaine that Mortimer takes to the theater with him.
Miss Abby, I'll be frank with you. I do not entirely approve your nephew's unfortunate connection with the theater. A drama critic is constantly exposed to the theater, and I fear some of them do develop an interest in it.
Well, not Mortimer. You need have no fear of that. Why, Mortimer hates the theater.
Really?
Oh, yes, he writes awful things about the theater. But you can't blame him, poor boy. He was so happy writing about real estate, which he really knew something about. And then they just made him take this terrible night position.
My.
But as he says, the theater can't last much longer anyway, and in the meantime, it's a living. Oh, now, who do you suppose that is? I'm coming.
Oh, hello, Miss Brewster.
How are you, Officer Brophy? Come in.
Thank you. Oh, afternoon, sir.
Sir, what news have you brought me?
Colonel, I have nothing to report.
Splendid. Thank you, sir. At ease.
We've come for the Christmas toys, Miss Brewster.
That's a splendid job you men do fixing toys for the children.
Yeah, well, it gives us something to do when we sit around the station. You get tired playing cards, then you start cleaning your gun, and the first thing you know, you've shot yourself in the foot.
Teddy, dear, go upstairs and get that big box from your Aunt Martha's room.
Delighted.
That's right, dear. Up the stairs. How is Mrs. Brophy today?
Pneumonia.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, she's much better now. A little weak still.
Well, I'm going to tell Sister Martha, and she'll bring you over some beef broth for her. And I'll be right back.
Oh, don't bother, Miss Abby. You've done so much for her already. Hey, Colonel, you promised not to do that.
But I have to call a cabinet meeting to get the release of those supplies.
He used to do that in the middle of the night. The neighbors complain about him.
Oh, he's quite harmless.
Oh, sure. I suppose he does think he's Teddy Roosevelt. It's a shame a nice family like this hatching a cuckoo. The grandfather made $1 million. Patent medicine.
Well, Officer Brophy and Dr. Harper. How nice.
Hello, Miss Martha. I come to get the Christmas toys.
Oh, yes. Teddy's Army and Navy. They wear out.
Oh, you're back, Martha. How is poor Mr. Benitsky?
Well, dear, it's pretty serious, I'm afraid. The doctor was there. He's going to amputate in the morning.
Can we be present?
No, dear, I asked him. But he said it's against the rules of the hospital or something.
Oh, here's Teddy with the Army and Navy.
Oh, thanks, Colonel. This will make a lot of kids happy.
What's this? The USS Oregon?
Oh, no, Teddy, dear, put it back.
But the Oregon goes to Australia.
Thank you again, ma'am. Yes, sir, Colonel.
Dismissed?
Yes, sir.
I shall retire to field headquarters. The blockhouse?
The stairs are always San Juan Hill.
Have you ever tried to persuade him he wasn't Teddy Roosevelt?
Oh, no.
Oh, he's so happy being Teddy Roosevelt.
Once, a long time ago, remember, Martha, we thought if he could be George Washington, it might be a change for him.
But he stayed under his bed for days and just wouldn't be anybody.
And we'd so much rather he'd be Mr. Roosevelt than nobody.
Well, if he's happy, I'd better be running along.
Give our love to Elaine. And Dr. Harper, please don't think too harshly of Mortimer because he's a dramatic critic. Somebody has to do these things.
Goodbye.
Did you just have tea? Isn't it rather late?
Yes. And dinner's going to be late, too.
So? Why?
Teddy!
Yes, Aunt Abby?
Good news for you. You're going to Panama and dig another lock for the canal.
Delighted. That's bully. Just bully. I shall prepare at once for the journey. Oh.
Abby, you mean? Yes, dear. While I was out? Yes, dear. I just couldn't wait for you. I didn't know when you'd be back, and Dr. Harper was coming. But, dear, all by yourself. I run right downstairs and see. Oh, no, there wasn't time. Then where did you... Martha, look in the window seat. The window seat? Go ahead, dear. Lift the lid. Oh, Abby, isn't it just too delightful? And to think you managed it all by yourself.
We're almost home, Elaine. Now make up your mind. Where do you want to go for dinner?
No, I don't care, Mortimer, really.
Well, suppose we wait till after the show.
Well, that'll make it pretty late, won't it?
Not with a little stinker we're seeing tonight.
I was hoping it'd be a musical. They seem to have a humanizing effect on you, darling. After a serious play, we joined the proletariat in the subway, and I listened to that lecture on the drama. It wasn't until we saw a musical that you took me home in a taxi and noticed my legs.
Elaine, where could we be married in a hurry? Say, tonight.
Now, I'm afraid Father will insist on officiating.
Now, I'll bet your father could make even the marriage service sound pedestrian.
Are you by any chance writing a review of it?
Sorry, darling. Occupational disease. Yeah, here we are. The Brewster Mansion.
Thanks, Daddy. Is that Teddy at the door?
Yes.
Well, what's he doing in shorts and a sun helmet?
Hello, Mortimer.
How are you, Mr. President?
Bully, thank you. Just bully. What news have you brought me?
Just this. Mr. President, the country is squarely behind you.
Yes, I know. Isn't it wonderful? Well, goodbye.
Where are you off to, Teddy?
Panama.
Panama's the cellar. He digs locks for the canal down there.
Oh, you're very sweet with him.
Teddy always was my favorite brother.
Favorite? Were there more of you?
There's another brother, Jonathan. We don't talk about him. He left Brooklyn very early, by request. Jonathan was the kind of boy who liked to cut worms in two with his teeth.
What became of him?
I don't know. He wanted to become a surgeon like Grandfather, but he wouldn't go to medical school first, and his practice got him into trouble.
Oh. Well, goodbye, darling. I'll run over and say goodnight to Father. Before I go out with you, he likes to pray over me a little. I'll be right back. I'll cut across the cemetery.
Hello, Mortimer.
Oh, hello, Aunt Abby. Did you see my chapter on Thoreau? I want to show it to Elaine.
No, I haven't seen it, dear. We thought you'd like a little something before you leave. Martha's getting a piece of the Lady Baltimore cake. Dr. Harper was here to tea. He's concerned about Elaine going to the theater so much.
He loved tonight's horror. Murder will out.
Oh, dear. Well, I think I'll open a bottle of wine. It'll be nice with the cake.
Yeah, I can see it all now. The same old thing. When the curtain goes up... where is that chapter? The first thing you'll see, maybe in the window seat, will be a dead body. Sure, just like this one. A dead body. A dead body.
There is a happy land far, far away. Lady Baltimore cake is so nice with a little wine, don't you think, dear?
Aunt Martha, Aunt Abby.
Yes, dear?
You told me you were going to make plans for Teddy to go to that sanitarium, Happy Dale.
Yes, dear. It's all arranged. Teddy has to sign the papers.
He's got to sign them right away. Well, you've got to know sometime. I'm frightfully sorry, but I've got some shocking news for you. Teddy's killed a man.
Nonsense, dear.
There's a body in that window seat.
Yes, dear, we know.
Oh, well, you know?
Now, Mortimer, just forget about it. Forget you ever saw the gentleman.
Forget?
We never dreamed you'd peek.
But who is he?
His name is Hoskins, Adam Hoskins. That's really all I know about him, except that he's a Methodist.
Well, what's he doing here? What happened to him?
He died.
Martha, men don't just get into window seats and die.
No, he died first.
Well, how?
Oh, Mortimer, don't be so inquisitive. The gentleman died because he drank some wine with poison in it.
How did the poison get in the wine?
Well, we put it in the wine because it's less noticeable. When it's in tea, it has a distinct odor.
You put it in the wine?
Yes. And I put Mr. Hoskins in the window seat because Dr. Harper was coming.
Oh, so you knew what you'd done. You didn't want Dr. Harper to see the body.
Well, not at tea. That wouldn't have been very nice. Now you know the whole thing, Mortimer. Just forget about it. I do think Martha and I have the right to our own little secrets. Butter plates, Martha. Butter plates.
Yes, of course, dear. Oh, Abby. While I was out, I dropped in on Mrs. Schultz. She's much better. Yes, and she would like us to take Junior to the movies again.
Well, we must do that tomorrow or the next day.
Yes, but this time we'll go where we want to go. Junior's not going to drag me into another one of those scary pictures.
Aunt Martha, Aunt Abby, what are we going to do?
What are we going to do about what, dear?
There's a body in that window seat.
Yes, Mr. Hoskins.
Well, good heavens, I can't turn you over to the police. What am I going to do?
Well, for one thing, dear, stop being so excited.
And for pity's sake, stop worrying. We told you to forget the whole thing.
Forget? My dear Aunt Abby, can't I make you realize that something has to be done?
Now, Mortimer, you behave yourself. You're too old to be flying off the handle like this.
But you can't leave him there.
We don't intend to, dear.
No, Teddy's down in the cellar digging the rock.
You mean you're going to bury Mr. Hotchkiss in the cellar?
Hoskins, dear.
Oh, yes, dear. Of course, that's what we did with the others.
Oh, no. You can't bury Mr. Others.
The other gentleman.
When you say other, do you mean others? More than one others?
Oh, yes, dear. Let me see. This is 11, isn't it, Abby?
No, dear. This makes 12.
Oh, I think you're wrong, Abby. This is only 11.
No, dear, because I remember when Mr. Hoskins first came in, it occurred to me that he would make just an even dozen.
Well, you really shouldn't count the first one, dear.
Oh, well, I was counting the first one, so that makes it 12.
Hello. Hello? Al? Oh, my, it's good to hear your voice.
12.
11.
Al? Oh, checking up. Well, I know I didn't pick up the tickets. Yeah, I'm glad you called. Now, get a hold of George right away. He's got to review the play for me. Yeah, I'll explain later. Now, let's see. Where were we? 12?
Yes. Addie thinks we ought to count the first one, and that makes it 12.
Well, all right. Now, all right. Who was the first one?
Mr. Midgley. He was a Baptist. He came here looking for a room.
He was such a lonely old man.
All his kith and kin were dead, and it left him so forlorn and unhappy.
We felt so sorry for him.
And then when his heart attack came and he sat in that chair looking so peaceful. Remember, Martha?
Mm-hmm.
We made up our minds then and there that if we could help other lonely old men to the same peace, we would.
He dropped dead right in that chair? Oh, how awful for you.
Oh, no, dear. Why, it was rather like old times. Your grandfather always used to have a cadaver or two around the place.
Well, I know, but...
You see, Teddy had been digging in Panama, and he thought Mr. Midgley was a yellow fever victim.
That meant he had to be buried immediately.
So we all took him down to Panama and put him in the lock.
And that's how it started?
Of course, we realized we couldn't depend on that happening again, so...
You remember those jars of poison that have been up on the shelves in Grandfather's laboratory all these years?
You know your Aunt Martha's knack for mixing things. You've eaten enough of her piccalilli.
Well, dear, for a gallon of elderberry wine, I take 1 teaspoonful of arsenic, then add half a teaspoonful of strychnine, and then just a pinch of cyanide.
Should have quite a kick.
Yes, as a matter of fact, one of our gentlemen found time to say, "How delicious."
Yes, he did. Oh, well, we'd have to get things started in the kitchen for supper.
I wish you could stay, Mortimer.
I'm trying out a new recipe.
I couldn't eat a thing.
Hello, darling. I keep you waiting.
Oh, it's you. You run along home, Elaine. I'll call you up tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Well, you know I always call you every day or two.
Well, we're going to the theater tonight.
Oh, no, we're not. Elaine, something's come up. Now you run along home.
What's happened? If we're going to be married...
Married?
Have you forgotten that not 15 minutes ago you proposed to me?
I did? Oh, yeah. Well, as far as I know, that's still on. Now you run along home.
Listen, you can't propose to me 1 minute and throw me out of the house the next.
Well, I'm not throwing you out of the house, darling. Will you get out of here?
You push.
Now, you get out, and I'll call you in a few days.
Mortimer!
Phew. Hello, Al. What? George is in Bermuda. Oh, well, get somebody. Get the office boy. You know, the bright one, the one we don't like. All right, then, get the printer. He knows what I write. The third machine from the left. Yeah, but Al, he might turn out to be another John Chapman. Yeah, all right.
Was that Elaine, dear?
Aunt Martha, Aunt Abby, sit down.
But Mortimer.
Sit down. There.
Well, dear?
You can't do things like that. Now, I don't know how to explain this to you, but it's not only against the law. It's wrong. It's not a nice thing to do. People wouldn't understand.
Abby, we shouldn't have told Mortimer.
Well, what I mean is, well, this has developed into a very bad habit.
Now, Mortimer, we don't try to stop you from doing things you like to do. I don't see why you should interfere with us.
Hello, Al. Oh, all right. Well, all right. I'll see the first act and tear it to pieces. All right. Now, look, I've got to go to the theater, but before I go, will you promise me something?
Well, we'd have to know what it was first.
Will you do this for me?
What do you want us to do?
Don't do anything. Don't do anything. Don't let anyone in this house, and leave Mr. Hoskins right where he is.
Why? We were planning on holding services before dinner.
Services?
Certainly. You don't think we'd bury Mr. Hoskins without a full Methodist service, do you? Why, he was a Methodist.
Well, can't that wait till I get back?
Oh, then you could join us. Oh, you'll enjoy the service, especially the hymns. Remember, Martha, how beautifully Mortimer used to sing in the choir before his voice changed?
And remember, you're not going to let anyone in this house while I'm gone. Have you got some paper?
Here's some stationery. Will this do?
Oh, that'll be fine. I can save time if I write my review on the way to the theater.
Come in, Doctor.
I'm right behind you, Johnny.
Well, this is the home of my youth.
Oh.
As a boy, I couldn't wait to escape from this place. Now I'm glad to escape back into it.
Yeah, Johnny, it's a fine hideout.
The family must still live here. There's something so unmistakably Brewster about the Brewsters. I hope there's a fatted calf awaiting the return of the prodigal.
Yeah, I'm hungry. Oh, look, Johnny, a drink. Elderberry wine.
A good omen.
Here's to you, Johnny. Who's that?
Who are you? What are you doing here?
Why, Aunt Abby, Aunt Martha. It's Jonathan.
You get out of here.
But I'm Jonathan, your nephew, Jonathan.
Oh, no, you're not. You're nothing like Jonathan, so don't pretend you are. You just get out of here.
But, Aunt Abby, I am Jonathan. And this is Dr. Einstein.
And he's not Dr. Einstein either.
Not Dr. Albert Einstein, Dr. Herman Einstein.
His voice is like Jonathan's.
Have you been in an accident?
No. My face. Dr. Einstein is responsible for that. He changes people's faces.
Abby, I've seen that face before. Oh, do you remember when we took the little Schultz boy to the movies and I was so frightened? It was that face.
Aunt Martha.
Easy, Johnny, easy. Now, don't worry, ladies. The last 5 years I give Johnny 3 new faces.
This last one, well, I saw that picture too, just before I operate, and I was intoxicated.
You see, Doctor? You see what you've done to me? Even my own family.
Johnny, you're home. These are your lovely aunts. They know you.
Well, Jonathan, it's been a long time. Where have you been all these years?
Oh, England, South Africa, Australia, and the last 5 years, Chicago. Dr. Einstein and I were in business there together.
Oh, we were in Chicago for the World's Fair.
Yes, we found Chicago awfully warm.
Yeah, it got hot for us, too.
Oh, well, it's wonderful to be in Brooklyn again. And you, Abby, Martha, you don't look a day older. Just as I remembered you. Sweet, charming, hospitable. And dear Teddy, I remember him so high. And did he get into politics? You know, Doctor, my little brother was determined to become president.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan, it's very nice to have seen you again.
Bless you, Aunt Martha. It's good to be home again.
Well, Martha, we mustn't let what's on the stove boil over.
Oh, yes, of course. If you'll excuse us, Jonathan, unless you're in a hurry to go somewhere.
Martha!
Oh, yes, I'm coming, Abby.
Well, Johnny, where do we go from here? The police have pictures of that face. I got to operate on you right away. We got to find some place for Mr. Spinalzo, too.
Don't waste any worry on that rat.
But, Johnny, we got a hot stiff on our hands. You can't leave a dead body in a rumble seat. We shouldn't have killed him, Johnny. He was a nice fellow. He gives us a lift, and what happens?
He said I looked like Boris Karloff. That's your work, Doctor. You did that to me.
No, Johnny, we find a place somewhere. I fix you up quick.
Tonight.
Now, Johnny, I got to eat first. I'm hungry and I'm weak.
Jonathan, we're glad you remembered us and took the trouble to come in and say hello. But you were never happy in this house, and we were never happy while you were in it. So we've just come in to say goodbye.
But, Aunt Abby, I promised Dr. Einstein that if ever we came to Brooklyn, I'd bring him here for one of Aunt Martha's home-cooked dinners.
I'm sorry. I'm afraid there wouldn't be enough.
Oh, Abby, it's a pretty good size pot roast.
Pot roast?
I think the least we can do is...
Thank you, Aunt Martha. We'll stay to dinner.
Well, we'll hurry it along. And, Jonathan, if you want to freshen up, why don't you use the washroom in Grandfather's old laboratory?
Huh? Is that still there?
Oh, yes. Come along, Martha. We're all in a hurry.
Well, we get a meal anyway.
Grandfather's laboratory. Doctor, a perfect operating room.
Oh, too bad we can't use it.
Oh, I'll handle this. Why, this house will be our headquarters for years.
You mean it? Oh, that would be beautiful, Johnny. This nice, quiet house. And those aunts of yours, what sweet ladies. I love them already. I get the bags from the car.
Doctor, we must wait till we're invited.
And if they say no...
Doctor, two helpless old ladies.
Oh. Oh, it all comes true. A beautiful dream. It's so peaceful.
That's what makes this house so perfect for us. It's so peaceful.
Richard Lockridge, co-author of Mr. and Mrs. North, took a sporting view of Arsenic and Old Lace on that January 1st night in 1941. His own play was to open 2 nights later. But here he was, the drama critic of the New York Sun, bound to report truthfully on what he thought about Arsenic. Lockridge wrote, "It is a noisy, preposterous, incoherent joy. You wouldn't believe that homicidal mania could be such great fun." This was gallant of him, and accurate, too. Now our second act of Arsenic and Old Lace begins.
Oh, Aunt Martha, you haven't lost any of your skill.
Why, thank you, Jonathan.
And now I know you and Dr. Einstein both want to get where you're going.
But, my dear aunts, I'm so full of that delicious dinner I just can't move a muscle.
Yeah, it's so nice here.
Well, after all, it's very late.
I found it.
Did you lose something, Teddy?
I found it. The story of my life, my biography. You see, here we are, both of us. President Roosevelt and General Goethals at Culebra Cut. That's me, General, and that is you.
My, how I've changed.
Well, you see, that picture hasn't been taken yet. We haven't even started work on the Culebra Cut. General, we will both go to Panama now to inspect the locks.
No, Teddy, not to Panama.
Yeah, Panama's a long way off.
Nonsense. Just down in the cellar.
The cellar?
Yes, we let him dig the Panama Canal in the cellar.
General, as President of the United States, I demand that we inspect the locks immediately.
Teddy, I think it's time you went to bed.
I beg your pardon? Who are you?
I'm Woodrow Wilson. Go to bed.
No, you're not Wilson. But your face is familiar. Let me see. Yes. Perhaps I meet you later on my hunting trip to Africa. Yes. You look like someone I might meet in the jungle.
Teddy?
It's your brother, Jonathan, dear.
He's had his face changed.
Oh, so that's it. A nature faker.
And perhaps you had better go to bed, Teddy. Jonathan and his friend have to go to their hotel.
General Goethals, inspect the canal.
But Johnny...
Inspect the canal.
All right, Mr. President. We go to Panama.
Bully. Follow me, General. Oop, have to wear a sun helmet. It's down south, you know.
Of course. Well, bon voyage.
Aunt Abby, I must correct your misapprehension. We have no hotel. We came directly here. This is my home.
But, Jonathan, you can't stay here.
Aunt Abby, you have a most distinguished guest in Dr. Einstein. I'm afraid you don't appreciate his skill. In a few weeks, you'll see me looking like a very different Jonathan.
Oh, but he can't operate on you here.
Ah, I forgot to tell you. We are turning Grandfather's laboratory into an operating room. We expect to be quite busy.
Hey, Johnny, down in the cellar.
Dr. Einstein, my dear aunts have invited us to live with them.
Oh, you fixed it.
Well, you're sleeping here tonight.
Aunt Abby, please get our room ready.
But...
Now.
Well, come along, Martha, dear.
Johnny, when I go down in the cellar, what do you think I find?
What?
The Panama Canal.
Ah, the Panama Canal.
It's a hole Teddy dug 6 feet long and 4 feet wide.
Down there?
And it just fits Mr. Spinaldo.
Rather a good joke on my aunts. They're living in a house with a body buried in the cellar. Come on, we'll bring it in through the window.
Poor dear Mr. Hoskins. He's been so patient in the window seat. I think Teddy had better get Mr. Hoskins downstairs right away.
Abby, I will not invite Jonathan to the funeral services.
Oh, no, we'll wait until they've gone to bed and then come down and hold the services.
The General was very pleased. He says the canal is just the right size. He says that...
Teddy, there's been another yellow fever victim.
Oh, dear me. This will be a shock to the General. But I'll have to tell him. Army regulations, you know.
No, Teddy, we must keep it a secret.
Yes.
A state secret?
Yes, a state secret.
Promise?
You have the word of the President of the United States. Cross my heart and hope to die.
Now, Teddy, you must take the poor man down to the canal.
And we'll come down later and hold services.
You may announce that the President will say a few words. Where is the poor devil?
He's in the window seat.
Oh, seems to be spreading. We've never had yellow fever there before. Well, up we go. He died for his country. Open the cellar door, Aunt Abby.
Johnny, are you out there?
Wait. I'll lift up Mr. Spinaldo.
Wait, I can't see good, Johnny. It's so dark.
What happened?
Someone left the window seat open. I fell in.
Well, get out. Take Mr. Spinalzo.
Oops. I lost the leg.
Here.
Johnny, somebody's coming.
Get him in the window seat. Quick.
All right.
Give me a hand in through the window.
Here. Are you in?
Yes.
Miss Abby? Miss Martha? Miss Abby, it's so dark in here.
Who are you?
Elaine Harper. I live next door.
Turn on the lights, Doctor.
Yeah. Oh, who are you? Where are Miss Abby and Miss Martha?
Perhaps we'd better introduce ourselves. This is Dr. Einstein.
Dr. Einstein. I suppose you're going to tell me you're Boris Karloff.
I'm Jonathan Brewster.
Oh, you're Jonathan?
Oh, you've heard of me.
Just this afternoon. Well, I'll be running along home now.
I think she's dangerous. She's seen us.
They let her go, Johnny.
She saw us. Remember that.
Stay away from me. Take your hands off me. Oh, Teddy.
It's going to be a private funeral.
Teddy, tell these men who I am, please.
What? That's my daughter Alice.
Oh, no.
Doctor, your handkerchief.
Oh, help.
Get her down to the cellar, quick.
This way, come, please.
What's going on down there? What are you doing?
We caught a burglar, sneak thief. Go back to your room.
Look out, Johnny. She got away.
Oh, let go of me.
Elaine?
Mortimer, where have you been?
At the Henry Miller Theater. Why, who's this?
This is your brother Jonathan, and this is Dr. Einstein.
Well, I know this isn't a nightmare, but what is it?
I've come back home, Mortimer.
Jonathan? Jonathan? What? You always were a horror, but you have to look like one?
Mortimer, have you forgotten the things I used to do to you when we were boys? Remember the times you were tied to the bedpost, to the needles under your fingernails?
It is Jonathan. Oh, I remember. I remember you as the most vicious, venomous form of animal life I ever knew.
Now, don't you boys start quarreling again the minute you've seen each other.
Jonathan, you're not wanted here. Now get out.
Well, I'm sleeping here tonight in your room.
Johnny, maybe we better sleep down here, on the window seat.
Window seat?
Window seat?
Yeah, the window seat.
Oh, the window seat. Well, maybe I'd better sleep down here.
Oh, we wouldn't trouble you. We insist on sleeping down here. Doctor, we'll go up and get our bags. You can have the room in a moment, Mortimer.
Mortimer,
What's the matter with you, dear?
I have almost been killed.
You've almost been... Abby. Martha.
Oh, no, it was Jonathan. He mistook her for a sneak thief. Would you like some coffee, dear?
Oh, great idea. Coffee, sandwiches. I haven't had any dinner.
Well, we'll get it ready. Come, Abby.
No wine.
No, dear.
I'm sorry I'm so late, Elaine, but it's after 12, and I... 12? Elaine, you've got to go home.
What? Mortimer, I want to know where I stand. Do you love me?
I love you very much, Elaine. I love you so much I can't marry you.
Have you suddenly gone crazy?
Oh, I don't think so, but it's just a matter of time. You see, insanity runs in my family. It practically gallops.
Oh, now, just because Teddy is a
No, it goes way back. The first Brewster, the one who came over on the Mayflower. You know, in those days, the Indians used to scalp the settlers. He used to scalp the Indians.
But, darling, this doesn't prove you're crazy. Well, look at your aunt. They're Brewsters, aren't they? And the sanest, sweetest people I've ever known.
Well, even they have their peculiarities.
Mortimer, you're not even looking at me. Come away from that window seat.
Yeah, right away, Elaine. Another one. Elaine, you've got to go. Something very important has just come up.
Up from where? We're here alone together.
Elaine, if you love me, will you get the devil out of here?
Mortimer, will you kiss me goodnight?
Why, of course, darling. Quickly.
Oh.
Well, good night, dear. And I'll call you in a day or two.
Oh, you critic.
Aunt Martha, Aunt Abby, come in here.
Yes, dear. What is it? Oh, where's Elaine?
You promised me... Who is that in the window seat?
No one, dear.
Look. And it is not Mr. Hoskins.
Well, who can that be?
Are you trying to tell me you've never seen that man before?
I certainly am.
Now, Aunt Abby, don't try to get out of this. That's another of your gentlemen.
Mortimer, how can you say such a thing? That man is an imposter. And if he came here to be buried in our cellar, he's mistaken.
But, Aunt Abby, you put Mr. Hoskins in the window seat. Now, this man couldn't have just gotten the idea from him. By the way, where's Mr. Hoskins?
In Panama, waiting for the services, poor dear. We haven't had a minute with Jonathan in the house. Oh, dear, we always wanted to have a double funeral, but I will not read services over a total stranger.
A stranger? Aunt Abby, how can I believe you? There are 12 men down in the cellar, and you admit you poisoned them.
Yes, I did. But you don't think I'd stoop to telling a fib?
Jonathan, I want a word with you. Aunt Abby, Aunt Martha, I think Jonathan is leaving at once.
Oh, no, Mortimer.
Oh, yes, and you're taking your cold companion with you from the window seat.
Oh, the window seat?
You're my brother, and I'm going to give you a chance to get away. And if you don't take it, I'm going to call the police.
Mortimer, remember, what happened to Mr. Spinalzo can happen to you, too.
Oh, dear. Come in. Why, Officer Brophy.
Oh, hello, Miss Martha, Miss Abby. I saw your lights on, and I thought there might be sickness in the family.
Oh, come in, officer. This is my brother, Jonathan.
Oh, hey, he looks familiar. Ain't I seen him somewhere?
I don't think so.
It's too bad Jonathan can't stay, isn't it?
Well, if everything's all right.
Oh, don't go, officer. Stay and have some coffee and a sandwich.
Well, if you say so.
Yeah, we'll all go into the kitchen while Jonathan collects his things. All his things. Come along, officer.
Yeah, sure. Say, Mr. Brewster, I've been meaning to ask you about a play I've been writing.
Doctor, this affair between my brother and me has got to be settled.
Now, Johnny.
We're going to sleep right here tonight.
With a cop in the kitchen and Mr. Spinalzo in the window seat?
That's all he's got on us. So we take Mr. Spinalzo down and we dump him in the bay and come right back here. Hide the suitcases in the cellar. Go on.
I think we should get out, Johnny. Johnny, come quick.
What is it?
That hole in the cellar. We got an ace in the hole.
Still here, Jonathan? I thought I told you.
We're staying.
You think I was bluffing? You think I won't tell Officer Brophy what's in the window seat? Officer Brophy!
If you tell Brophy what's in the window seat, I'll tell him what's in the cellar.
The cellar?
There's an elderly gentleman down there who seems to be very dead.
What were you doing in the cellar?
What's he doing in the cellar?
No, thank you, ma'am. That's all the coffee I can drink. Oh, Mr. Brewster, I'd like to tell you the plot of that play.
No, Brophy, no, you can't stay here. You got to go and call in the precinct.
Yeah, but I want to tell you about this here play.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about it later.
All right.
Later.
How about the back room at Kelly's?
Fine. I'll meet you at Kelly's later.
Great, Mr. Brewster. I'll be there. Unless I drop dead.
Is that you, Mortimer?
It's Jonathan, Aunt Abby. Mortimer went out.
Where are you going?
To Panama to bury Mr. Spinalzo.
But he can't stay in our cellar.
There's a friend of Mortimer's downstairs waiting for him. He and Mr. Spinalzo will get along fine together. They're both dead.
They must mean Mr. Hoskins.
You know about what's downstairs?
Of course we do, and he's no friend of Mortimer's. He's one of our gentlemen.
Your gentleman?
Besides, there's no room for Mr. Spinalzo. The cellar's crowded already.
Crowded? With what?
There are 12 graves down there now.
12 graves?
And that leaves very little room, and we're going to need it.
You mean you and Aunt Martha have murdered?
Murdered? Certainly not. It's one of our charities. So you just take your Mr. Spinalzo out of there.
You've done that here in this house, and you buried them down there?
Johnny, we've been chased all over the world. They stay right here in Brooklyn and do just as good as you do.
What?
You got 12, and they've got 12.
I've got 13.
No, Johnny, 12.
13? There's Mr. Spinalzo.
Yeah.
Then the first one in London.
2 in Johannesburg, 1 in Sydney, 1 in Melbourne, 2 in San Francisco, 1 in Phoenix.
Phoenix?
The filling station.
Oh, yeah.
The 3 in Chicago and the 1 in South Bend. That makes 13.
But you can't count the one in South Bend. He died of pneumonia.
He wouldn't have got pneumonia if I hadn't shot him.
No, Johnny, you got 12 and Dave got 12. The old ladies are just as good as you are.
Oh, they are they? Well, that's easily taken care of. All I need is 1 more, that's all. Just 1 more.
Well, here I am.
Mortimer, where have you been?
I've been over getting a doctor's signature on Teddy's papers.
Mortimer, what is the matter with you?
Running around getting papers signed at a time like this.
Do you know what Jonathan is doing down there?
He's putting Mr. Hoskins and Mr. Spinalzo in together.
Oh, well, let him. Is Teddy in his room?
Teddy won't be any help.
Well, you had to go and tell Jonathan about those 12 graves. If I can make Teddy responsible for those, I can protect you. Don't you see?
No, I don't see. And we pay taxes to have the police protect us. We'll call them.
Oh, but you can't. They'll find out about Mr. Hoskins and the other 12 gentlemen.
Mortimer, I don't think the police would pry into our private affairs if we asked them not to.
No, you can't do this. I won't let you.
Well, if Jonathan and Mr. Spinalzo are not out of this house by morning, we're going to call the police.
There. It's all done, Johnny. Mr. Hoskins and Mr. Spinalzo all put away, neat and tidy. We're all done.
You're forgetting, Doctor. My brother, Mortimer.
No, Johnny, no. Tonight, and we do that tomorrow, or the next day.
No, tonight,
no,
now.
Johnny, please, I'm tired. And tomorrow I got to operate. Tonight we go to bed, huh?
Doctor, it's going to be done tonight.
Johnny, I know that look. Okay. But the quick way, huh? The quick twist, like in London.
No, Doctor. This calls for something special. I think perhaps the Melbourne method.
Johnny, no, not that. 2 hours. And when it was all over, the fellow in London was just as dead as the fellow in Melbourne.
Get your instruments.
No, Johnny.
Get them. We operate tonight, Doctor, on Brother Mortimer.
My bugle. Mortimer, hand me my bugle.
No, Mr. President, just sign these papers.
I cannot sign any proclamation without consulting my cabinet.
But this must be a secret.
A secret proclamation? How unusual.
Japan mustn't know until it's signed.
Oh, Japan, eh? I'll sign it right away. I'll take it into the closet. A secret proclamation has to be signed. In secret.
But at once, Mr. President.
I'll have to put on my signing clothes. The interview is at an end.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sign it right away to...
Oh, no. Close the door, Doctor. Now, won't you sit down, Mortimer? Don't chew on the handkerchief. It's imported lace. Doctor, the curtain cord.
Yeah.
Mortimer, I've been away for 20 years, but every night I've dreamed of you. In London, I dreamed of you, and in Melbourne, There. Tight and neat. Now, Doctor, your instruments. We go to work.
Please, Johnny, for me the quick way.
All ready for you, Doctor.
Nah, I gotta have a drink. I can't do this without a drink. That wine, remember this afternoon? Where did the old lady put... Oh, here. Elderberry wine. I split it with you. We both need a drink.
Very well, Doctor. We'll drink to Mortimer. To my dear dead brother.
Cabinet meeting on the double.
That idiot. He goes next.
No, not Teddy. That's where I stop. I draw the line at Teddy.
Now, we've got to work fast.
Yeah, the quick way.
Yes,
Johnny.
Doctor. One quick twist of the silk handkerchief.
Hey, the colonel's got to stop blowing that horn.
It's all right, officer. You're taking the bugle away from him.
We promised the neighbors he wouldn't do that anymore. Oh, hey, Mr. Brewster. Why are you all tied up?
He was explaining the play he saw tonight. That's what happened to the fella in the play.
Oh, yeah? Gee, they practically stole that from the second act of my play. I'll tell you now. No, wait a minute. I'm going to leave you this way. This time, Mr. Brewster, you listen to the plot. Well, it starts in my mother's dressing room where I was born. Only I ain't born yet. Now then, we get back to me mother. There she is, lying unconscious in her lingerie. The fiend is standing over her with an axe. There. How do you like it so far, huh, Doctor?
Well, it put Johnny to sleep.
Oh, that's just the second act. Now the third act.
Johnny, wake up. I can't wake him.
What's going on?
Johnny, it's cops.
Brophy.
Oh, hiya, Lieutenant. This is Mortimer Brewster. He's going to help me write me play.
Did you have to tie him up to make him listen? The whole precinct is out looking for you. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Give me the phone and untie him.
Oh, gee, Mr. Brewster, I'll have to run through the third act quick.
Hello, Captain. Brophy's here. You don't have to worry. Yeah, we found him in the Brewster house, so you can call off the big manhunt. You want us to bring him in?
Manhunt? Oh, so I've been turned in, huh?
Oh, no, buddy, you got it wrong.
I suppose you and that stool pigeon brother of mine will split the reward.
Reward? Grab him, Brophy.
You stay still, Mac.
Now I'll do some turning in. There are 13 bodies buried in our cellar.
Oh, yeah?
I'll show you. You come on down to the cellar with me. 13 bodies.
Maybe you better go down, Joe.
With him? Not me. He looks like Boris Karloff.
Ah!
Get him off me, Rooney. Help me.
Get your head out of the way.
Oh. Well, what do you know about that? Imagine him claiming there was 13 bodies buried in the cellar.
Get him out of here.
Well, I'll have to drag him by the feet. I'll take him into the kitchen.
What a story. 13 bodies buried in the cellar.
Sir, there are 13 bodies buried in the cellar.
Who are you?
I'm President Roosevelt.
What is this? He's the one that blows the bugle.
Oh, dear me. Brother Jonathan, a yellow fever victim.
No, Colonel. He's a spy. We caught in the White House.
Well, will you get him out of here? Now, you. Didn't anybody untie you yet? Here, I'll do it.
Now, Lieutenant, listen to me.
That crazy brother of yours has got to be put away. We don't want no more bugles blowing.
Oh, yes, I know. I have the papers right here. Teddy's going to Happy Dale. Now, about those 13 bodies.
Yeah. Can you imagine what would happen if that cockeyed story got around? And now he's starting a yellow fever scare. It's lucky I didn't fall for that story. 13 bodies.
I beg your pardon. I'm Mr. Witherspoon of Happy Dale. I believe I'm to pick up a gentleman.
Oh, Teddy.
Just finished my cabinet meeting. Yes, Mortimer.
Mr. President, I have very good news for you. Your term of office is over.
Oh, then I start on my hunting trip to Africa, don't I? Well, who's this? Trying to get into the White House before I've moved out?
Who, Teddy?
Taft!
Oh, this isn't Mr. Taft, Teddy. This is Mr. Witherspoon. He's your guide for Africa.
Oh, bully. Glad to meet you, sir. Aunt Martha, Aunt Abby, I'm on my way to Africa. Isn't that wonderful? Oh, if the safari comes, tell them to wait.
Aunt Abby, Aunt Martha, this is Mr. Witherspoon from Happy Dale. Teddy is going with him.
No, he is not. Not while we're alive.
The police want him to go. He blew his bugle again.
That's right, ma'am.
Well, if he goes, we're going with him. Yes, we won't be separated from Teddy.
But we can't take sane people at Happy Dale.
Look, will you settle this? There are still murders to be solved in Brooklyn.
Yes. Oh, are there?
Teddy's got to go. With the story he's telling, we'd have to dig up the cellar. He says there are 13 bodies buried down there.
But there are 13 bodies buried in our cellar.
I'll take your word for it, lady. I'm a busy man.
How about it, Witherspoon?
Well, they'd have to be committed.
Well, Teddy committed himself. Can't they commit themselves? Can't they sign the papers?
Certainly.
Oh, well, then, if we can go with Teddy, we'll sign the papers. Where are they?
Yes, where are they?
Sign them up, Witherspoon. I want to get this cleaned up.
Oh, my, we've overlooked one thing. We're going to need the signature of a doctor.
A doctor? Oh, yes, a doctor. Dr. Einstein.
Me?
Come over here. We'd like you to sign some papers.
Yes, please, I must go.
No, just come right over here, Doctor. At one time last night, I thought Doctor was going to operate on me.
Please,
yes, Doctor. Just come right over here. Sign right here, Doctor.
Yes, very well. Here. There.
Are you leaving us, Doctor?
I think I must go.
Oh, aren't you going to wait for Jonathan?
I don't think we're going to the same place.
There now. Everything's quite in order.
Well, I'm almost relieved. I'm really looking forward to going. The neighborhood here has really run down, so... Well, Mortimer, we're all ready to go now. The house will be yours, and we want you to live in it.
Oh, no, Aunt Abby. The house is too full of memories.
Oh, dear, but you'll need a house when you're married.
I'm afraid I can't ever marry Elaine or anybody.
Oh, there's something else, Mortimer. You signed our papers as next of kin.
Oh, of course, why not?
But you see, dear, you're not really a Brewster.
Not a Brewster?
No, dear, your mother was a widow when she came to us as a cook, and you were born about 3 months afterward. But she was such a good cook that we didn't want to lose her, so Brother married her.
I'm not really a Brewster?
Now, don't feel badly about it, dear.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's a tragedy, isn't it? Nobody knows who your father is. He might be anybody.
You're right. You're right. Well, isn't it wonderful? He might be anybody. I've got to tell Elaine. He might be anybody.
All right, Jonathan, come on.
I'm coming, Lieutenant. Goodbye, aunties. So this house is seeing the last of the Brewsters. Well, I can't better my record now, but neither can you. At least I have that satisfaction. The score stands even. 12-12.
Jonathan always was a mean boy. Never could stand to see anybody get ahead of him.
I wish we could show him he isn't so smart.
Well, ladies, perhaps we'd better be going.
Martha?
Yes, Abby? Oh, yes. Mr. Witherspoon, does your family live with you at Happy Dale?
I have no family.
Oh, that must make it very lonely for you.
I suppose it does.
Martha?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Witherspoon, I think at least we should offer you a glass of elderberry wine.
Elderberry wine? You grow your own elderberries?
No, but the cemetery is full of them.
You don't see much elderberry wine nowadays. I thought I'd had my last glass of it.
Oh, no.
Here it is.
Well, ladies, to a long life.
You have just heard the Best Plays production of Arsenic and Old Lace, starring Boris Karloff and Donald Cook. Now, here again is your host, drama critic John Chapman.
Joseph Kesselring never wrote a sequel to Arsenic and Old Lace, so we don't know what happened to Mr. Witherspoon. Perhaps someday the author will get around to it. In the meantime, we will have another best play for you next Sunday. It will be a rather strange and quite lovely piece, Dark of the Moon, which Howard Richardson and William Burney made from the old hillbilly folk song about Barbara Allen. Our star will be Alfred Drake. Let's all meet again next Sunday in the mountains called the Great Smokies. This is Chapman saying goodbye until then.
Arsenic and Old Lace was transcribed and adapted for radio by Ernest Kenoy. Boris Karloff was Jonathan, Donald Cook was Mortimer. Evelyn Varden and Gina Dare appeared as Abby and Martha, Edgar Staley as Dr. Einstein, Wendell Holmes as Teddy Brewster, Joan Tompkins as Elaine, Arthur Maitland as Mr. Witherspoon, Ted Osborne as Reverend Harper, and Ed Latimer as Brophy. Best Plays is an NBC production, supervised by William Welch and directed by Edward King. This is Fred Collins speaking. Tonight, America's Press Conference. It's Meet the Press on NBC.
At 6:30. KFI, Los Angeles. Listen, a new Packard four-door sedan costs just $29.20 plus tax and license, delivered right here in Southern California. Packard costs less for what you get than any other car. Up to 30 months to pay at Earl C. Anthony Incorporated, 1000 South Hope or 9130 Wilshire Boulevard.
The NBC University Theater brings you Boris Karloff in The History of Mr. Polly by H.G. Wells, the fourth in our series of full-hour dramatizations of outstanding works in modern British and American fiction. Many a little man, like Mr. Polly, has dreamed of escape from the dullness of middle-class life, of rebellion against all the many conventions so irksome to the individual, but so necessary to our civilization. But, the world being what it is, the dream is only apt to come true in the mind of an author like H.G. Wells, and in the pages of one of his brilliant satirical comedies. So, to any listener with similar yearnings, we do not recommend trying to follow in the footsteps of our hero. But instead, we do invite you to find vicarious release and enjoyment by following the story of his adventures. This is The History of Mr. Polly.
It's spreading. It's caught on in throats.
Hurry up with that hose from the fire station.
Can't do it. The fire station's already burned down.
Well, do something. The whole of High Street's going to go.
We begin our story with the fire in the Fishburne High Street, because the fire in the Fishburne High Street was the turning point in Mr. Polly's life. Mr. Polly, aged 35 and a half to be exact, inclined to a little localized plumpness, with a clean-shaven face and the forehead of a thoroughly discontented man. Mr. Polly, who on any given Sunday before the fire might have been found eating his wife's cooking in the cramped little kitchen of the cramped little shop in the High Street, eating in what could best be described as a quivering silence.
More cold pork.
Pork? Call it pork, do you? That ain't what I call it.
Oh, whatever you call it. Do you want some more?
How much can you punish a man's stomach, I'd like to know? You know my stomach.
Oh, the dear Lord knows I do. Some more cold potatoes, then. Some nice cold suet pudding.
I'm going out. Where's me cap?
I'm on there where it's meant to be. I'll get it for you. Finish your beer.
No beer.
No pleasing some people. Here's your hat.
I don't want me hat. I want me cap.
You're not to wear your cap. It's new. Supposing it was to rhyme.
Does it seem like rhyming? Shan't wear this. Silly old mud pie. Want me to wear it forever, do you? Sick of it. Sick of everything. Hat.
Here, don't you kick it.
Shall if I like. Shan't wear any hat.
Tantrums. I haven't patience.
And Mr. Polly, full of the injustice of life, took himself out into the strong east wind. The east wind always bothered his digestion. And went out and sat in an uncomfortable style and hated the whole scheme of life, particularly as it involved Fishburne, his shop, his wife, his neighbors, and himself. Mr. Polly expressed himself on this occasion.
Oh, rotten, silly wheeze of an owl. How'd I ever get into this silly hole? Why'd I get into this beastly silly hole?
A question has been asked. Why indeed, Mr. Polly? How indeed? Polly's history began in the ordinary way with two parents who thought him the most wonderful baby in the world and fed him most unwisely. His education was in a national school and a private school of dingy aspect, where he was set to doing sums that he did not understand and caused to read the catechism with the utmost industry, and where the studies of bookkeeping and French were pursued, but never quite overtaken. He had the curiosities and the dreams of boyhood, but he kept them to himself and concentrated on writing copperplate. However, for the young Mr. Polly, as for others of his age and temperament, one small window opened up into the world of things that might be. The world of the penny dreadful.
And dangerous Dick the highwayman smiled a cold smile, undaunted by the muskets which ringed him about. Then, with an oath and a laugh, he vaulted upon his horse and dashed into the night. Cool, but was he a one?
And so, much as circumstances contrived against it, a smattering of romance filtered into the soul of young Mr. Polly.
Copperplate, ruddy copperplate. Got to write this ruddy copperplate. Make the downstrokes thick and the upstrokes thin. Stupid pen. This ain't the life for you, old man. Or to run off and be a deep-sea diver. Maybe join the Navy. That's it. The Navy.
All this until he was 14, at which time his father remarked,
"It's time that dreaded boy did something for a living."
For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow.
Can't you fellas cut out that racket? You're shaking the old blooming dormitory.
We'll do what we like in our corner. You do the same in yours, eh, Platt, old man?
That's telling him, Polly, old man. Righto. We're the three P's, aren't we? Parsons, Platt and Polly. That Morrison, he don't tell us what to do.
Thinks he's something. Chief apprentice of the Port Burdock Drapery Bazaar. Who's he, I should like to know?
Well, he's chief apprentice. We're only...
Here. Don't rub it in, old man.
You're right, Parsons, as Rabelais says.
We know what Rabelais says. Here, I tell you, Polly, you'd better watch that reading back of the counters. Old man Garvis will sack you if he finds you.
Not I mean to get on. Parsons the one ought to worry.
Think he dare sack me?
You oughtn't to tell him off quite so plain.
Look here. Do you think he'd sack the only man in the old bloomin' place who can dress a window?
Do dress him smart.
Smart? I'd tell you, old man, the art of window dressing's in its bloomin' infancy. All balance and stiffness like a blessed Egyptian picture. No joy in it. All conventional. A shop window ought to grip people as they go along. Right?
Right.
Look at old Morrison's windows. Tidy, tasteful and correct. And bleak.
Bleak. Go it, old man. Let's have more of it.
Just pieces of stuff in rows. Quiet tickets.
Might as well be in church, old man.
A window ought to be exciting when you see it. It ought to make you say, hello.
We want a new school of window dressing.
Polly, I've been timid. I've been holding myself in. All that's over now. Next time I do a window, I mean to have a crowd of bust.
Watch out, Platt. Old Gervis will see us talking.
Not he. Quick. In here. In the silk.
All right, now, what's up?
Parsons is busted.
Talk sense, old man.
Busted. Sacked. Out. And likely in jail to boot.
What? Parsons?
The same. He did his bloomin' window.
What window?
What he said.
Well, and what about it?
He unrolled everything. Piled blankets all up in heaps, he did.
Must have looked real nice.
Big tickets with red letters. Curl up and cuddle below cost.
He didn't ever.
Cozy comfort at cut prices. He did, though.
Cozy? Well, but he wouldn't sack it for that, old man. If old Garvis didn't like it, he'd have to tell him to take it out.
He told him.
You mean he wouldn't, old man?
Well, wasn't only that. He got, like you might say, violent.
Oh, if only I'd seen it.
Garvis told Morrison to tear down Parsons' window and dress it proper. Parsons hit him over the head with a roll of huckaback.
Oh, he must have been splendid, old man.
Splendid he was. But he's out, nonetheless, and into the police court.
But you saw it all, old man. You'll be a witness for old Parsons.
Not I. And have old Garvis on my neck.
Platt, if he's out, I'm out.
Oh, come, old man. I was jolly fond of Parsons, but if you mean getting
The day
on...
my 5 years are up, I'm leaving. That's all there is to it, old man. I can't stick Port Burdock without Parsons.
Mr. Polly wandered from situation to situation. Canterbury, Clapham, Wood Street. A careful salesman, a neat window dresser, small sedate tickets. And sometimes, between the efforts to be smart and to buck up, it would occur to him that he was in the wrong trade. That somewhere in the world there were happiness and beauty and joyous states of mind and body, unconnected with gents' outfitting. But where they were, he could not imagine. And then, a long-forgotten gentleman, Mr. Polly's father, died, and Mr. Polly found himself the sole owner of a family Bible, a bust of Mr. Gladstone, a quantity of old clothes, and £395.
Well, he looks peaceful.
He died peaceful, Alfred. Mrs. Johnson and me, we done what we could for him. All the years he lived with us.
No doubt of it, old man.
After all, Alfred, your dear mother, rest her soul, was my own sister. Now, if you care to sit down, Alfred, we'll talk over the funeral.
You want to sit in here?
Well, it's cosy in here. You needn't look at the, your father. Yes, about the funeral now.
I thought something very simple.
Well, you'll have a hearse, of course. Oh, I do like them glass hearses. So refined and nice they are.
He'll have Podger's hearse. It's the best in the town of Eastwood.
Then you'll want a mourner's carriage or two, according as to whom you're going to invite.
Didn't think of inviting anyone.
Well, you can't let your father go to his grave without asking a few friends.
Funeral baked meats like.
Well, not baked, but of course you'll have to give them something. Ham and chicken's very suitable. You don't want a lot of cooking with a ceremony coming into the middle of it. You'll just want the immediate relations.
But he hated our relations.
It's just because of that I think they ought to come, all of them.
Bit vulturial, ain't it?
Wouldn't be more than 12 or 13 people if they all came. And besides, he's not eating them now, you may be sure. Have you seen to your mourning, Alfred?
Must have mourning, I suppose.
Well,
got to see it through.
If I were you, I should get ready-made trousers. All you really want. And a black satin tie and gloves.
Should have jet cufflinks as chief mourner.
Not obligatory.
Shows respect.
Shows respect, of course.
Well, you and Alfred talk it over. I've got to start arranging things. Have to get him into the ground with everything proper.
Got to put him away somehow, I suppose.
That's the idea, Alfred. Now, have you thought about to invest your money?
Have you got used to the idea of having it yet, old man?
Well, you'll have to do something with it. Give you £20 a year if you invest it proper.
Haven't seen it in that light.
No end of things you could put it into, you know.
Shouldn't feel sure of getting it out again. Sooner back, horse.
Oh, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Now, there's building societies now.
There is.
Lend it on mortgage. Very safe form of investment.
Shan't think anything about it, not till the old man's underground.
You know, Alfred, you might do worse than put it into a small shop. That's the ticket. Shop.
Shop?
Your trade, Alfred. Gents' outfit.
Yes, but
now,
I
let's
don't...
see now. Figure £100 for stock, then there'd be your rent. Why, you could do it easy. Be making your way in no time. Have to keep books, of course.
No one wants to know where one is.
Double entry's best. Little troublesome at first, but it works out in the end. Alfred, for a man who sticks to it, there's a lot to be done in a shop.
Well, now, I don't know.
I've just sent word to your Aunt Larkins, Alfred.
Who's me Aunt Larkins?
Now, Alfred, you remember your Aunt Larkins. She'll come right along with her 3 girls, Annie, Miriam, and Minnie. Maybe you don't remember them, Alfred, but they'll be real nice company for you.
Not in need of company now, old girl. He's a fellow of means. Going to open his own shop, eh, Alfred?
Well...
Shop or no shop, I say those girls are just what Alfred needs.
Why, it's Cousin Alfred.
Hello, Miriam. Thought I'd look you folks up.
Oh, I haven't seen you since we buried your poor father. Where have you kept yourself?
Quit me situation. I'm living with the Johnson, having a bit of a rest.
Fancy you coming to see us. Oh, come in, Alfred, do. Ma! Ma! It's Alfred! She'll bring tea. Oh, sit down, Alfred, do. Oh, no, not there. We're all in a mess today, you know. It's my cleaning up day. You just have to take us as you find us.
Well, I had to come over and see my pretty cousins again.
Oh, Alfred, you do say such things.
I didn't say which of them.
Well, Alfred, we are glad to see you.
Oh, yes, Ma, and some tea. You'd like tea, wouldn't you, Alfred?
If I might.
You'll just have to pardon us, Alfred. Miriam's turning out the front room. Never did see such a girl for cleaning up. But then all my girls is tidy. Pity Annie and Minnie are at work. Won't be home until 7.
Shall I pour the tea for you, ma'am?
Now you just stay right there next to Miriam. Look real sweet, you do. 2 lamps, Alfred?
If I might. But now you come sit next to me too, Aunt Larkin.
Oh, Alfred. I seen a bicycle out the window. It isn't ever yours.
It is, though.
You are clever. Fancy riding a bicycle.
Oh, ain't no cleverness. You just wobble along.
Wobble?
Just wobble along.
Oh, Alfred. Supposing you was to run somebody down.
No foreseeing little accidentulous misadventures. None whatever. Never run anyone down, ma'am, not really. Of course, there was a stout elderly gent walking on the road today.
Don't say you ran him down, Alfred.
Run him down? Not me, ma'am. I never run anything down. Wobbles, ring the bell, wobble, wobble.
Oh, I never laughed so hard, have I, Ma? Have I ever?
Well, this is pleasant, but I'm afraid.
Alfred, you're not thinking of going.
Not when you've just come.
Supper at 8 at the Johnsons.
I won't hear of it. I simply will not hear of it. You're to stay to supper here.
Well...
Do stay, Alfred.
Well...
You can walk about with Miriam to meet Annie and Minnie. It's a nice walk by the cemetery and the recreation ground. And you come back here for supper, Alfred. We just love to have you here.
You are quiet today, Alfred.
Matters on me mind.
You've been looking around for a shot, Alfred.
See what I do. It takes time. Don't do to be precipitous.
Oh, it don't. Once you got it, you got it. Like choosing a husband. I made Larkins wait 2 years. And I hope my girls will do the same when the time comes.
Oh, Ma.
I got 3 fine girls, Alfred. And I say any man would be glad to wait for them.
To be sure, ma'am.
Minnie's so clever, you know. And Annie's real sweet and affectionate. And Miriam...
Ma, you forgot to bring in the jam for tea.
Why, I believe you're right. That was right careless of me. I get it straight.
Are you really going to get a shop, Alfred?
Well, now, when I get this shop of mine, I shall have a cat. Got to make an home for a cat, you know.
Rather.
A cat's no good if it ain't a tabby. That's it. Cat I'm going to have and a canary.
Oh,
Didn't think of that before, but a cat and a canary seem to go, you know.
Mm.
Summer weather, I'll sit at breakfast in the little room behind the shop. Sun coming in the window, cat on the chair, canary singing, and Mrs. Polly...
Ooh, hello.
Mrs. Polly frying an extra bit of bacon. Bacon singing, cat singing, canary singing, Mrs. Polly...
But who's Mrs. Polly going to be?
Figment of the imagination, you know. Put it in to fill up the picture. No face to figure yet. Still, that's how it'll be.
Bit of garden, perhaps?
Not the back-breaking sort, you know. Just a patch of nasturtiums and sweet pea.
Nice.
Red brick yard, clothesline, trellis. Humorous wind vane.
You will have it nice.
Rather. Smart little shop. Counter, desk, all complete. Umbrella stand, carpet on the floor, ties and hose on a rail. Cat asleep on the counter.
I like cats. I'm always saying to Mother, I wish we had a cat. Like to have one someday. Never will, though. No more in your shop.
I'll have my shop like nothing before long. Trust me. Cat, canary bird and all.
I'll have my cat first. You never mean anything you say.
Might get 'em together.
Why, how do you mean?
Shop and cat throwed in.
Alfred, you mean to say...
Oh, I am sorry. Yeah, the jam's so put away, Miriam. It took me all this while.
It's all right, ma'am.
Ma, I think we need some more butter.
Oh, no, ma'am. You sit right down. I'll get it.
Oh, nonsense, Alfred. Ma doesn't mind. Do you, Ma?
Eh? Oh no. Why, no, not at all, Alfred. You stay right here. I'm sure I can find some.
You were sighing about a cat, Alfred.
Give you one. Very day my shop is open.
I should like to see you in your shop. I expect you'll keep everything tremendously neat.
Well, it needn't be so bad.
It's a home.
It's a home.
Oh, one did ought to be happy in a shop. So respectable.
I could be happy in a shop if I had the right company.
If you had the right company...
I'll get that all right.
Alfred, you don't mean you got someone?
I got someone in my eye this minute.
Alfred, you don't mean...
I do.
Oh, not really.
Well, you and me, Miriam, in a little shop. Cat and a canary. Just suppose it.
You mean you're in love with me, Alfred?
Yes.
Oh, Alfred, kiss me.
Now, Miriam, your mother...
Oh, I didn't dream you cared. I've loved you ever since your poor father's funeral. Leastwise, I would have if I'd thought. It didn't seem to mean anything you said, though. Oh, I can't believe it.
Nor I.
Oh, I do love you, Alfred. I know we'll be so happy. You and me and the shop. Can't you stop that whistling, Alfred? It runs right through me head and you know it.
Helps me arrange the stock.
Arrange the stock. Lot of good that does. Never a tinkle out of the shop bell, except for a necktie or two on Saturday night.
Got a new line of straw hats.
And they'll go the same way as the last new line. Down in the cellar for the mate.
This here's my show.
And mine, worse luck.
Time you was seen about supper.
It's all cold from last night.
Oh, not that same kidney pie. Couldn't we have muffins?
Muffins? As if I hadn't enough to do without muffins. Trying to keep this place tidy.
Maybe if you didn't try so hard.
Oh, it's all your fault. Coming down here to Fishburne, taking this place without my knowing. With white paint all over to get dirty, and the coal indoors and all the stairs.
I didn't think of it.
Oh, of course not. All you think of is bringing more books in to muss things up for me.
All right. Now, can I arrange this stock or can't I?
Oh, arrange a way for all of me. Alfred!
Shan't arrange the stock, then. Shan't whistle. Go outdoors and whistle in the street.
In High Street, Mr. Polly looked round him for congenial company. But all he saw were the lower portions of his nearest neighbour, Rumbold, the china dealer, who, with his back turned, was diving into a crate of straw. Mr. Polly had been looking at that back for some time, and it had begun to annoy him. At last, he approached and prodded it.
Hello! Can't we have some other point of view? I'm tired of the end elevation.
Aye?
Of all the vertebraceous animals, man alone raises his face to the sky, old man. Why invert it?
What's that?
I'm sick of you turning your back on me, see?
Oh, that's what you're talking about, is it?
That's it.
Why, the wind blows, I expect. But what's the fuss?
No fuss. Passing remark. Don't like it, old man, that's all.
Can't help it if the wind blows me straw.
Isn't ordinary civility.
Can't unpack china with a straw blowing in me eyes. Got to unpack it how it suits me.
Needn't unpack like a pig rooting for truffles, need you?
Truffles?
Needn't unpack like a pig.
Pig? You calling me a pig?
That's the side I seem to get of you.
Here, you go on indoors. I don't want no row with you, and I don't want you to row with me.
Now, believe me,
I don't know
old
what
man.
you're after, but I'm a peaceable man and a teetotaler, and a good thing if you want.
Hey, you mean to say I'm asking you civilly to stop unpacking with your back to me?
Pig ain't civil, and you aren't sober. Go on indoors and let me go on unpacking. You're excited.
You mean to say...
Get back to your shop and let me get on with my business and stop calling me pig, see? And sweep your pavement.
I came here to make a civil request.
You came here to make a row. I don't want no truck with you, see? I don't like the looks of you, and I can't stand here all day arguing. Now get back to your shop.
Something of the sort happened between Mr. Polly and each of his neighbors, one at a time. The ironmonger, the grocer, the chemist. And so it happened that Mr. Polly kept his shop in Fishburne and ate his wife's cooking and had no one to talk to for 15 years. 15 years that brought Mr. Polly, behind in his rent and a bankrupt, to the seat on the stile above Fishburne.
Oh, rotten, silly, beastly wheeze of an owl.
It's spreading. It's caught on in Throbson.
Hurry up with that hose from the fire station.
Can't do it. The fire station's already burned down.
Well, do something. The whole of High Street's going to go.
This, you will remember, is where we began our story. We repeat it in order to make an important point. The point is this. When once a man has broken through the paper walls of everyday circumstance that hold so many of us securely prisoned from the cradle to the grave, he has made a discovery. If the world does not please you, you can change it. Mr. Polly made this discovery by failing in his plan to kill himself. The plan should not have failed, for Mr. Polly made it carefully. He chose a Sunday morning while Miriam was at church.
Nothing to it. Good pile of papers in the cellar, windows open, paraffin on the stairs. I break the lamp to make it look like that started it all. I light the fire and then I cut my throat. Miriam gets me life insurance and me fire insurance. Nothing to it.
Nothing to it. But while the stairs blazed merrily, and while Mr. Polly was regarding the razor which was to end his life, a tongue of flame licked at his paraffin-soaked trousers, and it burned him. This wasn't in Mr. Polly's plan at all.
Say. Ow! Ow! Get away! Good Lord! What the deuce? Hey! Fire! Fire! Fire!
Have another drink, Polly, old man, and tell us again how it happened.
Well, Rumbo, old boy, it's like I told you. I upset the lamp. I just lighted it. I was going upstairs, and my foot slipped against one of the steps where it was a bit rotten, and down I went. Thing was a flare in a moment.
Never been a fire to beat it that I know of.
No, never has been. Think of it. Fire companies from 4 towns, and half the high street's gone up in spite of them. Lucky you weren't killed, Polly, my friend.
Very lucky. Nothing left to bury our shops, though.
Not a splinter. It's a pity.
I suppose there'll be a public subscription.
Not for those who's insured. I'm insured myself. Royal Salamander. Very good company.
Mine's the Glasgow Sun Company. They pay on the dot. I'll have every penny back. You insured, Polly?
Deserves to be. Odd lines it would be if there wasn't something for him.
Oh, I'm insured. Commercial and General Company. I'm all right.
Well, cleared me out of a lot of old stock. Well, that's a blessing.
Rust, but the ironmonger's a bit sick. His place didn't burn. Well, Polly, you played a brave man's part, and we'll drink to you. Boys, a toast to our friend, Mr. Polly.
Here, Mr. Polly, I know that. And thus it was that Mr. Polly realized that things could be changed. That there could be new beginnings.
From Hollywood, the NBC University Theater is presenting Boris Karloff in The History of Mr. Polly by H.G. Wells, the fourth in our new series of radio plays based on outstanding works of modern Anglo-American fiction. Our intermission commentator on Mr. Wells' novel will be Dr. Harvey C. Webster of the University of Louisville, where productions of the NBC University Theater are currently being used in conjunction with its course in British and American fiction under our National College by Radio plan. And now here is Dr. Webster speaking to you from Louisville.
Who now reads Bolingbroke? Who ever read him through? Somehow, these words by an almost contemporary about an almost forgotten 18th century writer come to my mind as I think of H.G. Wells. No one, certainly, not even Wells himself, ever read Wells through. He has written more words than Upton Sinclair or Anthony Trollope, and more vague and mistaken ones. But there are those who read him and will read him, as you who have been listening to Mr. Polly must agree. The trouble is that Wells was not only a prophet, but an angry prophet. Not only a reasonable man, but a man who could not understand why other people were unreasonable. As the 20th century and he grew older together, Wells wrote more and more words, more and more badly, angry words hastily written to compel the world to become reasonable as he was. His last book, which snarled at the world that did not listen, is not as readable as his earlier The Fate of Man. The Fate of Man is not as readable as his Outline of History. None of these are as near to works of art as Mr. Polly, Tono Bungay, Kipps, or the thoroughly delightful and provocative scientific romances about invisible men, time machines, and wars between worlds. Why? Wells had no patience with artists. Conrad he thought an uneducated mind, obsessed by mere vividness. In his famous controversy with Henry James, who wrote less and is more remembered, Wells spoke of James' perfected style as the painful manner of a hippopotamus trying to pick up a pea. From sentence to sentence, Wells wrote better than Dreiser, but he rarely, after that first fine flare of talent, created either character or scene as memorably as the awkward American did again and again. Still, one must praise him. If one could read him entirely, it would be like reading a fascinatingly chaotic history of the promises and mistakes of our century. Wells not only did and thought almost everything during his representatively confused life, he wrote about it. And at his best, which happened frequently in the years from the Time Machine to Mr. Polly, he was artistic despite his contempt for art. Though their technique is old-fashioned, Tono Bungay, Kipps, and Mr. Polly are very much alive still. Wells' world of small shops, of cricketers, of truthful caricature, of men like Teddy Ponderevo who continually sizzle in a world dull as cold mutton, are often as vivid as any characters in the world of Dickens. This world of H.G. Wells may seem remote from us now, just as many of his prophecies seem mistaken, but it is fun to live there, for he wrote of it with a gusto that serves as, or is, art.
Thank you, Dr. Webster. Our dramatization continues from Hollywood after a brief pause for station identification.
After the fire, Fishman was beginning to settle back into its old ways. Its merchants, now solvent, their insurance money safely in their pockets, were looking forward to conquering new worlds of retail trade. And the equally solvent Mrs. Polly was growing accustomed to the unflattering appellation deserted. Yes, things could be changed. There could be new beginnings. Far from Fishbourne, along country roads where the birds were piping and the big van horses pulled their loads and the mists hung low on the grass at midnight, walked a solitary tramp, plump and dusty and at peace.
Hello.
What? Oh, hello, little girl. Didn't see you at first.
I'm not a little girl. I'm 9.
You don't tell me so. Then perhaps you know what place this is.
Silly. This is the Potwell Inn. The next town, Sloman.
Very good. Do you think the innkeeper might give me a bite to eat?
My granny's the innkeeper. She's the best cook in the whole world. That's her over there in the doorway asleep.
Ah, fine-looking woman.
She's fat.
Plump, I should say.
Come on, we'll go and wake her up.
I'm with you.
What's What's your name?
Polly.
Liar, I'm Polly.
But so am I, on me honour.
Well, all right. How do you do, Polly?
How do you do, Polly?
I'll wake Granny. Granny! Granny, wake up!
What? Don't shout, child. Oh.
Fine day, man.
It is. I believe I was having 40 winks if all the truth was told. What can I do for you?
He's hungry.
Cold meat?
There is cold meat.
I've room for it.
Step into the tap. Run and play, Polly.
All right, Granny. Bye, Polly.
What did she call you?
Name of Polly, ma'am.
That's a funny one. Doolittle.
Happy to meet you, ma'am, I'm sure.
Some cold boiled beef and a bit of crisp lettuce?
No mustard and...
A tankard.
A tankard.
Looking for work?
In a way.
What sort of work?
Never have thought that one out. Looking for ideas. Such beautiful weather this spring.
Hear that?
Yeah, what?
Listen. Someone wants the ferry boat, and there's no ferryman.
Could I?
Can you punt?
Never tried.
Very simple. Pull the pole out before you reach the end of the punt, that's all. Go on out and try. Oh, me side. I've hurt me side laughing at you, Mr. Polly.
Bit of a rough show, I'm afraid. Told you I'd never tried it before.
I'd have known the look on that old codger's face when you sloshed those water weeds over him. And then you had to go and hit him 3 times with the pole.
Twice, ma'am, twice. And he didn't hurt his head, not particularly.
Did you charge him anything?
Gratis. Never thought of it.
Ought to have charged him something. Here, you'd better come and have your cold meat before you do any more punting.
Might be wise.
You and me'll get on together.
Boof's a bit of all right, ma'am.
You eat better than you punt. Dare say you could learn to punt.
Could have done better if I hadn't been punting on an empty stomach. That's a queer feeling as the pole goes in.
I've never held with fasting.
You want a ferryman?
I want an odd man about the place.
I'm odd, all right. What's your wages?
Not much, but you get tips and pickings. I've got sort of a feeling it'd suit you.
I got a sort of a feeling it would. Give me a trial.
I've more than half a mind, or I wouldn't have said nothing about it. You got a sort of half respectable look about you. I suppose you haven't done anything.
Bit of arson.
As long as you haven't the habit.
Oh, me first, ma'am, and me last.
As long as you haven't been to prison. That's what does the mischief.
Never been to prison.
Bit of cheese.
If I might. But first, what's me duties?
Well, there's the ferry, digging potatoes, keeping the boats in order, sweeping chimneys, cleaning pewter, washing glasses and waiting on the customers, beating carpets, helping with the poultry, keeping the hens out of the garden, running errands, cleaning boots, throwing out drunks.
That'll be all right, ma'am. In my spare time, perhaps, I might do a bit of fishing. Little Polly.
Did you like your food?
Never tasted better.
I told you.
I'm to be the new ferryman.
You'll have to punt better.
Hey, did you see me?
No, but I know. I've seen the others.
What others?
What Uncle Jim has scooted.
Scooted?
He comes and scoots them. He'll scoot you too, I expect.
I'm not a scooter.
Uncle Jim is. When he comes back, he'll cut your insides out. Perhaps he'll let me see 'em.
Who's Uncle Jim?
You want to see my rabbits? I got some rabbits.
Another time. Who's Uncle Jim?
Silly. Don't you know who Uncle Jim is? He'll show you. He's a Scotcher.
I thought he was a scooter.
He's that, too. He only came back just a little while ago, and he scooted 3 men. He don't like strangers about. He's going to teach me to swear.
Teach you to swear?
And spit.
Horrible.
He's not what I'd call handsome, but he's a Scotcher, no mistake. And you want to know a secret? Granny don't like him.
Been seeing over the place, Polly?
Had a look round. Who's Uncle Jim?
That grandchild of mine been saying things?
Bits of things.
Hoped you wouldn't find out so soon. Oh, very likely he's gone.
Oh, she don't seem to think so.
Hasn't been near the place these 2 weeks and more.
But who is he?
Oh, I suppose I got to tell you. He's me own sister's son. Me own sister's son and me a widow woman and helpless against his doing.
She says he scoops people.
I pray to God night and day that he won't come back. Back he comes, sure as fate. Won't let a man stay to help me or work the ferry. The ferry's a scandal, and they'll take away me licence and me living, and he knows it.
Bit thick.
It's horrible. I wouldn't mind so much if it wasn't for the child. I buys him off, and he goes and spends it, and back he comes worse than ever.
Biggish sort of man, I expect.
He wasn't so bad until they took him and put him in the reformatory. It was me who had to put him there. I seen him steal. And him sitting there in court, looking at me like a viper. More like a viper than a human boy. Not saying anything but, all right, Aunt Flo.
How much money you give him last time?
£3 golden. Won't last long. But I keep open.
What sort of a size is he? I'm not one of your Herculaceous sort.
No, you'll scoot. You better scoot now, and I'll try and find some money for him to go away again as soon as he comes. Ain't reasonable to ask you to do anything else.
How long's he been about?
3 months. It has come the 7th since he come in by that very back door. After 7 years. And he says, you want me reformed, and you got me reformed. I'm a reformed, reformatory character, and he grins with his black teeth. If only it wasn't for the child.
You two oughtn't to be left. Still don't see that it's my affair. I'd like to have a look at him before I go. What's that?
Only a customer.
The subject was closed, but Mr. Polly did a deal of thinking. But he stayed on, and such are the workings of the human mind that he came not to believe that there was such a person as Uncle Jim. Until 4 days later, when he was walking back to the inn from the post office. It was twilight.
Harper, Mo.
What?
I said Harper, Mo. You the new bloke at the Potwell Inn?
Suppose I am. Good evening.
I said Harper, Mo. We ain't doing a bloody marathon. I want a word with you, see?
Well, what is it?
Just a friendly word. Just to clear up any blooming errors. You've got to bloody well clear out, see?
Clear out? How?
Because the Potwell Inn's my beat, see? You clear out.
Suppose I don't.
Oh, it's a kindness I'm doing you to warn you, mister.
What do you think you'll do?
Cool. Here!
Ouch! Let go my arm.
I'll make a mess of you. I'll kick you, ugly thief.
You got no right.
Right? Oh, I'll cut bits out of you. I've got no quarrel with you, mind.
It's a little late to go tonight.
I'll be around in the morning, about 11, see? And if I find you...
We'll consider your suggestion.
At 10:30 the next morning, Mr. Polly found himself by the merest coincidence seated under a clump of fir trees about 3.5 miles from the Potwell Inn. Quite truthfully, he had no idea in which direction he would walk when he got round to walking.
Not my business. Where the devil do I come in?
He knew in that moment as much as a man can know of life. He knew he had to fight or perish.
She'd ought to go to the police with her quarrels, and I'd ought to go back to my wife.
Man comes into life to seek and find his sufficient beauty, to serve it, to increase it, to fight and face and dare anything for it, counting death as nothing if the dying eyes turn to it.
If I had a chance against him.
The wise man's course lay in the other direction. Mr. Polly tried to see himself taking the wise man's course, but the wise man had a paunch, round shoulders, and red ears and excuses.
If I get killed, I get killed. If he gets killed, I get hung. Don't seem just somehow.
And so saying, he turned his face toward the Potwell Inn.
You're back.
Rather.
He's mad drunk and looking for the child.
Where is she?
Locked upstairs.
Where's he?
In the garden. Wait, he's coming. I hear him.
I'll see to it.
Polly, here, take a beer bottle.
Right.
All right. You, scoot.
Your job, old man.
I'll take you apart.
Not just now. Oh, it broke.
Polly, that won't
Yes, quite so.
Bottles? I'll teach 'em bottles. Out of me way, you old crow.
Sandwich around the house.
Come back here, you yellow-livered.
Catch me.
Blooming ring around the rosy, is it?
Housey, not rosy.
Run, Polly. He's got 2 bottles. Don't let him catch you.
Doing my best not to.
Get the hands on you, you black
Go on, waste your breath.
Stand still for a minute like a man.
Polly, in here. We'll bolt the door.
Right, give me that pig pail first.
Now I've got you.
Correction. Don't bolt the door.
You all right?
Bit winded.
He's got the pile off his head. Now what?
Out the tap room door. Come on in outside from the rear. With what, though?
Here's the broom.
Not much. All right, give it to me.
Careful now. Don't make any noise.
Stand back when I open the door.
Open the door, you ugly beast of a baboon. Open it and I'll cut your liver right out.
One for you, eh?
Will you? Now I've got you.
Let go that broom. That's my broom.
You. Let go.
Not much chance.
Stop going in a bloody circle.
You don't give me much choice, old man.
You, when I get hold of you.
I say, tactical error, old man. You're back to the river, you know.
Whoa! You know, I've got a weak chest.
And I got the punt pole now, old man. Heel of Achilles.
Ain't fair fighting.
Down you go. Stupendous.
I've got to land.
Keep out.
I tell you, I've got a weak chest.
You want to go downstream, eh? Well, just keep out. I don't mind walking with you.
I tell you, I've got to land, you fool.
You keep out. Don't you ever land on this place again.
It's cold. This is getting to me matter.
You want cooling. You keep out in it.
Can't get across, Blaster.
You can get to the island right downstream. Don't you come this way.
Oh, by God. I'll skin you for
Keep off or I'll do worse.
Oh, you was lucky. I'll warn you. I'll be back tomorrow, and I'll have your head.
Hang on to your own.
Polly!
Right here.
Ain't he killed you?
Do I look
But
it?
where's Jim?
Gone off.
Oh, I thought she was done for.
I put him in the river, gave him a bit of a doing.
Wish I'd seen more of the fighting.
Didn't you see it?
All I saw was you running around the house with Uncle Jim after you.
You're mistaken, Polly. I was not running. I was leading him on.
During the next few days, Mr. Polly routed Uncle Jim on 2 more occasions. But this was due to the presence of reinforcing guests at the inn, and as they both knew, did not count. Then there was a break in the hostilities for 3 months, while Uncle Jim became reacquainted with the local jail because of his having, as Mr. Polly learned to his extreme discomfort, stolen a hatchet. Then came the October night over whose events it would be kindest to draw the curtain of oblivion. But it is certain that the town constable, happening past the Cotswold churchyard just before dawn, came upon a most unusual sight.
Hey, you. What you doing down there? Come on out of it.
Look out, he's let fly at me twice already.
Who's let fly at who? I tell you, take the rest of you out from behind that wall.
The rest of me?
Besides the part I can see already. And don't go scrounching down more. I says come out and let's have what's what.
I warn you, Constable, this is very unwise.
Well, I'll be Mr. Polly. Now, why'd you be hiding behind the churchyard wall at this hour? And in your nightshirt besides?
I'm not hiding, Constable. I'm looking for a gun.
You had a drop, Mr. Polly?
Not I. Truly, I was...
Never mind. Now I know what you was looking for. How much room behind that wall?
He won't shoot at you, I doubt. Perhaps we can make it back to the inn.
Not through the churchyard, if he's in there.
Well, we'll take it slow like. Come on.
Who's he, anyway, Mr. Polly? You ain't said that yet.
Why, Jim, of course.
Him again? He took after you with a gun?
Well, as a matter of fact, it was my gun.
Then how'd he get it?
We, struggled.
So you chased after him out here in your nightshirt?
Yes, that's right. That was the way of it.
Look there, on the ground. There's the bloomin' gun.
Burst. Knew it wasn't much good when I bought it. Come on now, let's see how Mrs. Doolittle and the kid made out.
Doors are all open at the inn. Don't see any signs of life, though.
Wait a bit. Ah, there's the missus upstairs.
Polly?
Me, ma'am.
Is he gone?
He's gone, ma'am.
And is that gun gone?
Gone for good, ma'am.
Then I'll come down.
Just take a look in here, Polly, in the tap.
What a mess.
Not a bottle left old, not a mirror.
Not a penny in the till, unless I miss my
Polly,
guess.
I've never had such a scare in my life. I thought this time he'd killed you for certain.
Oh, not I, ma'am.
Mr. Polly did real brave, ma'am, chasing out after Jim like that.
Chasing out after him? Was that the way of it? I'd have sworn Polly went out by the upstairs window before Jim come downstairs.
Well, I don't seem to remember too clearly now you mention it.
Whichever it was, ma'am, Jim had time to make a terrible mess for you down here.
Down here? You think he made a mess down here? You ought to see Polly's room.
What do you do in my room?
What, didn't he? Furniture all broken, bed all torn up, and every stitch of your clothes gone.
Me clothes?
Not so much as a sock. Lord Cyrus, you'll excuse me, Constable.
What's wrong, ma'am? Where you going?
Well, it's plain I can't stay in this room, can I? Polly's still in his nightshirt.
Uncle Jim never was heard from again. 5 years passed away peacefully. And then, on a summer afternoon, while Mr. Polly sat fishing under the pollard willow tree, he began to think. It was a plumper, browner, and healthier Mr. Polly who engaged in this exercise. A Mr. Polly who wore a small, square beard and had not had a troubled thought since the last vanishing of Uncle Jim. But he was having them now.
Left her the £100 insurance money. Likely she's fooled it away by now.
Mr. Polly, we must remark, had never had the slightest remorse about the fire which destroyed the Fishburne High Street. But when he imagined his wife, he imagined her crying. And this gave him distress.
Always talking of doing things for herself. Why couldn't she?
Mr. Polly had found his place in the world. But he was looking long-neglected facts in the face.
Ah, silly to begin thinking about her. Bloomin' silly. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Would you like to buy some sweets?
Not today, thanks. Pleasant sweet shop you have here. Polly and Larkins, that's the name, eh?
So on the sign, don't it?
You the proprietor?
It's my sister's shop, really. Mrs. Polly. I'm Miss Larkins. Perhaps you'd like some tea, sir, with a tea room upstairs.
If I might.
Oh, this way, sir. My sister's been cleaning up the tea room, bit upset, I'm afraid.
It would be.
Beg pardon?
I said I didn't mind. In here?
That's right.
Well, nothing like turning things upside down when you're cleaning.
It's my sister's way. What with the tea, sir?
Oh, an egg, if I might. Unusual name, Polly.
My sister's married name. She married a Mr. Polly.
Widow, I presume?
Yes, this 5 years come October.
You don't tell me, sir.
Found drowned he was. Wouldn't have known him, my sister wouldn't. Hadn't been for the name sewn in his clothes.
Must have been a shock for her.
'Twas rather. But sometimes a shock's better than some other things.
No doubt. Life insured?
We started the tea room with it.
Well, marriage is a lottery.
She found it so.
Wasn't particular good sort, this Mr. Polly.
Well, I don't say nothing against the dead, but many's the time I pitied my sister.
Inquest on him, I suppose.
Of course. Why'd you ask?
You're sure it was him?
Why, who else would it have been in the very clothes he wore?
Oh, yes, the clothes. Well, one gets talking.
One does. How long you like your eggs boiled?
4 minutes.
I'll see to him straight. Oh, Miriam, there's a gent upstairs in the tea room.
Did you get him everything he...
Nice afternoon.
Oh, Alfred!
Here, now, don't faint.
Oh,
Sit
it's
down.
you.
No, it isn't. Just looks like me, that's all.
Oh, I knew that man wasn't you all along. I tried to think it